Now Sweeney, Dwayne Sweeney! Sweeney's over!
Can you please hand it over to your captain, Dwayne Sweeney?
Welcome to Real Tales with Sweens. This episode I sit down with the three wise men of Good George Brewing. Good George is a brewery based in the city of Hamilton and is one of, if not the, fastest growing in New Zealand. Since the company was founded in 2012, they have consistently tasted success at the New Zealand Beer and Cider Awards, every year coming away with a range of gold, silver and bronze medals. Their success and recognition is not only limited to New Zealand, as in 2018 they were the only New Zealand brewery to be invited to attend the October Beer Fest in New York City, where their Kiwi Sour Brew was the most consumed beer at the event. As a company, they have very strong ties to the local community and partner with some amazing charities and initiatives. Some of these include the Be Good, Do Good initiative in partnership with the WaterBoy, an organisation that breaks down barriers to help Kiwi kids participate in sport. They also led a hand sanitizer project, and with the support of some great Waikato businesses, were able to give 4,000 bottles of hand sanitizer to schools and other community groups after lockdown. In this podcast, the three wise men give some great insight into the brand that is Good George, and we cover a range of great topics. From how Good George was initially formed, the focus and importance they place on having good people, Jason's love of saunas, the company's rapid rise, and messy staff dues at the Huka Lodge. We also discuss the importance they place on being connected to the local community, having a good work-life balance, how they started to produce gin, future products and direction the brand is heading, and we also discuss the recent partnership with Raglan Roast Coffee and the birth of my two favourite drinks, their Raglan Roast Coffee IPA and the Espresso Martini. As always, the show notes will be available on Instagram at Real Tales with Sweens and the website realtaleswithsweens.com. The website will have all the links to listen on your favourite platform, and it will also have all the links to Good George's website to purchase any of their products. As Good George have recently partnered the podcast, all the listeners will receive a 10% discount on all their online products. Simply use the discount code REALTALES before checkout. Lastly, I want to thank Daryl, Jason and Brian for their support and giving up their time to share their tale with us. Enjoy the podcast. Cool, so I'm just sitting here with the three wise men of Good George. So Jason, Brian and Daryl, thank you very much guys for making your time available. Three very busy men, which no doubt we'll dive into as the podcast goes on. But like there's a bit of a connection for me with you Jason and Daryl through my rugby career and being big sponsors, and probably seen me in some pretty good states uptown in my younger days. But yeah, I know I'm extremely grateful for you guys, all three of you, and the brand for coming on and helping me grow this podcast. So yeah,
sweet.
This was a good formal way to say thank you.
Yeah, man. Appreciate being here. It's good.
No, cool. Yeah, I suppose I kind of want to jump in at the start and talk a little bit about the recent successes that you'd had. So I understand at the cider, you had the New Zealand Cider Awards last weekend.
Yeah, we did, and did pretty well. So every cider we entered won a medal, which is, you can't ask much better than that. Which means for us in the brewery, it's about the consistency and the quality that just every time. So it was really good, and the drop hop, of course, which is my favourite cider of all time, won another trophy. So that was great too. So
No,
that's the first ever trophy we got. Was the drop up cider? Drop up cider, yeah.
And it's still delivering now.
11. Yeah.
Nice. 9 years on, it's still the best.
Oh, we bought it back.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, we bought it back for summer release.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, nice. And I understand the passion fruit cider, which is a big fan of my wife. She loves that one. That was the most sold cider at the awards as well, at the festival.
Yeah. So the passion fruit one is really interesting because it's just passion fruit juice and apple juice. It's it's really simple, but it just smells and tastes really good. And the way we do it in the brewery is quite unique in that we really let the juice infuse into the actual apple juice as well, so it becomes a really well blended and mellow product. So
great for summer.
Yeah, great for summer. Yeah.
Be good on the boat actually.
Yeah, they can.
Yeah, it's coming to a can, eh?
Is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how to square.
Brian's looking at me.
What is
That's
now?
we're marketing and production.
Sure, I already thought it was already a can.
Actually, I've seen the can.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
that's
good
right.
design.
I've seen the can.
Oh, nice. Cool. So, I suppose we'll jump back to the start a little bit. And how was, I don't know, we can dive into this as much or as little as you want to, but how did the three of you start this?
Oh, we did well, Jason and I had some bars going back in the day, mostly down on Hood Street, and we're having some fun doing that. And we got hold of the old Loaded Hog building, which is now House Bar, and that was about 2007, 2008, and the recession hit, and we were going to do some big flash. I don't know what it was going to quite be, but big flash bar and what have you, and the recession hit, and then at the same time craft beer was starting to take off. People were sort of less about flashy stuff. They wanted to get into craft beer and they wanted to get into the recycled furniture and stuff like that. So we had a bit of fun refitting that venue like on a real small budget or on an Orly rag, and so we got it going and we really embraced the whole craft beer scene. And that stage we were highlighting everyone else's stuff, and then Brian Watson came in one day through the doors and said, I want to start a brewery in Hamilton, and would you guys run the pub? And we were like at the same time having our own conversations about, gee, wouldn't it be good to control our own destiny and have our own brewery? And so I said to Brian, no, but how about we do it all together? And it wasn't an overnight thing, was it?
No, 2 years took us.
Yep.
2 years from when we first met to go, actually, these guys are reasonable guys. I asked around town and did a bit of due diligence on them and made sure that they were actually reasonable blokes. And then Jace rings up one day and says, I've got some good news and bad news. He goes, good news is I found a site for the brewery. And it's an old church. Bad news is in Frankton. I was like, Frankton 2009, 2010 was, an interesting area. And so that was the point at which it kind of all gelled together. I think once you got a site, everything just comes together from that point, eh?
Yeah.
And we'd had lunches and beers over the previous 2 years, just sussing each other out, making sure that we're in business with the right people.
Well, we knew we couldn't start a brewery without it's about anything, right? You've got to have the right people on board. So we were trying to scratch our head which brewer in New Zealand could help us out with this. And then when Brian walks in, he says, I want to do this, and I live in Puketaha, we didn't quite believe. So a bit of a Google search later, and it turns out he knows a bit about what he's talking about.
Yeah.
Wheel beer judge and all this sort of carry on. And
Took you about 3 goes to get to us, from memory, eh? I remember getting a message saying this guy Brian Watson.
Oh,
The
yeah.
master wants to catch up. I was like, oh yeah, whatever.
Yeah, 3 days later or 4 days later, there's a call come back. Yeah, what? Yeah.
Yeah.
But also, I mean, I'd come back from Australia, so I've been living in Australia. I'd set up a large contract brewing in Australia and had my own businesses over there, and knew that when I wanted to do my next business, which is always going to be a brewery, of course that's my whole career, I needed to have a pub involved in it, because it's not just the pub as such, that's the home of the brand. It's a spiritual home, it's the touch point for the brand. It's where people can come in, they can see it, touch it, feel it, so I needed, I'm not a hospitality guy, I need hospitality guys to do it, and these two guys just happen to be kicking around.
Yeah. Well, it adds another layer, doesn't it? When you've got the brewery right there and you can smell it, you can hear it, it's coming out of the tap right there, but it's brewing right next to you at the same time. And it's very similar for me, like when I go to Raglan Roast and have a coffee, you can smell the coffee roasting. It adds like a whole another dimension to it, and you can physically see it.
And got integrity with what
it's
up to.
Well, you got nothing to hide then, really.
Exactly.
If you're brewing it in front of everybody, it's like, well,
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it's part of that business sense too. It was like for the first 2 years, it was the pub that was paying the bills while we were getting the brewery. While we were sort of trying to build momentum there, and to be fair, even with Brian's background, and what we were doing. There was just so much to learn as well. So we needed that time to get our shit together. But yeah, the pub's always been, and then subsequent other venues as well, been a major part of enabled us to grow.
Yeah.
Having it on Frankton too actually has been a strong point of the brand. You know, its locations have been fantastic.
It helped us to kind of visualise what the brand was going to be. It's not, it's not down in Auckland. It's in Frankton.
Yeah.
So you've got to be able to have a brand which most people can connect with. And the beers, of course, were always about beers that we all wanted to drink, not just for people with beards and tattoos or beards.
Hipsters.
Yeah. Frankton's cool. There's lots of family-owned, businesses that are here, and that little industry and what have you. It's got so much good history there. So it's it's been awesome actually.
Hamilton as a city must be very strong in that aspect too, though. Like, there's a lot of diversity in the city of Hamilton, and a lot of local family-owned companies and businesses as well. So that's no doubt a good fit as well, being in Hamilton.
Yeah, totally. There's a lot of depth in Hamilton. People sort of
underestimate it.
Yeah, they do a bit, which is all fine. But it's an important part to play into that localness and that making sure we're really connected with that local market and the community. It's a big part of it. Yeah.
Some of New Zealand's biggest companies, are from Hamilton, and they're founded by individuals, and like Porter Group, Gallagher's. It's they're amazing. They're massive pro-life, massive companies, and all with that strong sort of family link behind it. So, it's a good place to be.
Yeah, real generational stuff, eh?
And lots of really good business. We would, in most cases where we can, go with local businesses where we could. So, even there's the guys that did the stained glass windows in the church are now Ohalpo. How cool is that?
Yeah.
There's people, there's genuine artisans in Ohalpo that make stained glass windows. That's pretty freaking cool. Don't get that in Auckland.
Nah. You don't get water in Auckland either. Cool. I do want to jump a little bit into, I suppose, I touched on it at the start, but like the connection with you, Jason, and Daryl, and then talk a little bit more about Brian as well. But just, I suppose, touch a little bit on the three of you individually here. So, Jason, you had iguana when I first sort of, no doubt, was causing heaps of trouble. I was touching on it before, and I mentioned to Daryl earlier as well that like the Melbourne Cup for me is like an awesome event. It always has been. But I have my three best memories, and I'll rank them in order. So number one was a day that you hosted at Iguana, and you were very kind, and you offered a table to us Waikato boys, and we filled our boots and had a great time, and we'll touch a little bit more on that and what that was about. And then second was when you had CBD, and then third was actually going to the Melbourne Cup. So I'd had these awesome experiences in Hamilton. Here I am going to the Melbourne Cup, like this is going to be amazing, and it actually let me down a little bit because I had so much fun at Iguana and CBD, and that's no word of a lie.
Yeah.
But yeah, so what was it like for you back in, I suppose, that time, and what you were doing with Iguana?
Oh, Melbourne Cup was such a wicked day, eh? I mean, we put a huge amount of effort into it. So I think we got like 250 people jammed into this restaurant, eh? Just about a big old party basically, eh? Had tote machines and jockeys and champagne, and it was just wicked. I think that was, when we really apply our skills, we can develop cool things, so if you put heaps of effort into a day, and you can develop into something quite special. So no, we had great memories there, eh? It's wicked.
Yeah, I had so much fun. I was like, I don't know, it was probably my first real event in memory of the Melbourne Cup, but I remember it was like, we got this table, we'll bowl along, season was finished. We normally sort of finish late October, and obviously the first Tuesday of November, so we'd probably been drinking for a week before we got there, but it definitely gave us a second wind. And it was such a cool event. Yeah, I just remember all the waitresses and waiters were all dressed up as jockeys, and they would take your bet, so you didn't have to leave your table. Like, the hospitality was awesome, and they'd run out, make your bet for you, bring your slip back. Yeah.
Yeah, with jockeys running around, it was actually quite challenging because every year we had to add a little bit of something new, a little bit of X factor, a little bit of surprise part. So put the asset on us to really do a good job. But I think we end up with bloody plastic horses and people riding around late at night on those little $2 coin ones and all sorts of weird stuff. But no, I think the underlying part of Melbourne Cup was, been celebrating something, getting dressed up and having a wicked time with good people. So
Yeah.
hospitality hasn't changed.
I think people feel a little bit naughty drinking on a Tuesday as well. So there's a something about that as well, adds to the occasion.
Yeah.
I don't think that Melbourne Cups, they never were big money spinners because they took a lot to put together, but they were a signature or event on your calendar, and it kind of signified the start of that summer festive thing. So get your Melbourne Cup right, and you can take that momentum in a good, nice, strong sort of festive season for the pub or the restaurant or whatever we were.
Yeah, well, I remember you used to go to these events. It's like the who's who around town. Was there, eh? You were talking I suppose I think of like local businesses like Heathcote's and that. Like I remember seeing Martin Heathcote. He was always there.
Martin was
John and all of them.
Actually, Heathcote's probably the better out of the day than us because we used to rental our TVs off them.
Oh yeah.
How many TVs were out of theirs?
Yeah.
No, it was fun. I'm glad you had fond memories of those days because we certainly do.
Yeah.
Heaps of effort going into it, but great time. All the team get dressed up and into it, and it's quite a highlight.
Yeah.
So no, it's great.
Yeah, because it was. I look back on those times, and obviously playing professional rugby and being in the limelight, we were supported so well through what you did with the bars. Like we used to have the best nights. Like we talk about it, and even the players now, they're so envious of what we used to be able to do, and how there wasn't as much technology in terms of phones and the rest of it. So we used to let our hair down and have a good time, but it was with the support of the local bars, it was weird. There was the glory days.
Yeah,
it was so much fun.
It's good fun entertaining you guys, though, especially when you asked us to turn the
Sometimes.
cameras off.
It wouldn't have been me.
Oh, wasn't it?
Nah. Probably Richard Kahui, I'd say. Throw a few boys under the bus here.
Yeah, true.
Yeah. Nah, and then and then obviously second was CBD, and we was both involved with CBD as well.
Yeah.
And then I have an awesome memory of the house bar. Actually, it was before it was open, and I remember we played Northland, and we had to win with a bonus point to get into the semi-finals, and we did. And then a couple of real good mates of mine that I grew up with were back in Moronsville watching the game, and they're like, he's going to come over. They're like, nah. And then we win. I was the lucky one to be on the receiving end of the last pass to score the try to give us a bonus point to put us into the semis. And the two mates who were watching the game at home on TV, before I knew it, they'd turned up at the stadium in the car out the back. Come on, we're going to town. They were pumped. So I remember we went in, and then house wasn't quite open. We managed to sneak across the road, and we had it all to ourselves. It was effectively the team. It was effectively the team plus my two best mates and my little brother.
Yeah.
I remember they were the only three that weren't in the team that were in there, and it was so cool for us to actually have that little bit of space. If that makes sense. Like guys in the team like Liam Messam and Richard Kahui and Stephen Donald and that, they're All Blacks and stuff at the time too. Like they get a lot of attention anywhere they go. So being able to effectively have that little window where you can just be, yourself and not have to kind of worry too much about what was going on. It was pretty cool. It was a good night. It's one I definitely, I try and remember, but I think I fell asleep outside CBD on the corner in my blazer.
It might have been a win-win, getting you guys across the road and out of the pub with all the people. yeah, definitely. So nice gesture, but
but get out of here.
Now thinking about it. No, I think that was Matt Palmer. He was in business with us at CBD at the time and house. So I think he was. He might have instigated that night for you.
Yeah. No, that was cool. And then, Brian's just jumped up, but I did want to touch on...
Let's take another beer.
I did want to touch on craft beer and how it's evolved in New Zealand, because it has in the last, we're talking 8 years ago since you started, eh?
Yeah.
So it's pretty rapid rise, if you think about it.
I think we were about the 50th to open at the time.
Oh, yeah.
But now there would be... I don't know, 300 or 400.
Close to 400.
Oh, really?
Yeah, close to 400 now.
Oh,
Craft brewers. Yeah. And then you add in
I didn't even think there was 50.
Yeah. Oh, they range in size and what have you, eh?
Yeah.
There's cideries and lots of distilleries and
Yeah.
everything. Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, it's really since we opened about the same time as a few other reasonable sized craft brewers down in Wellington, and so it was a good time to open, really. And geez, hasn't the market exploded since then? So it's been really good.
Yeah, it's just, and it's constantly, well, what you do here, it just evolves, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I don't know, how do you just spitball ideas and then chuck them at the wall and see what sticks and like, alright, let's just have a crack at that?
Yeah,
because there's a lot.
But we're also lucky enough that through us we could travel.
Yep.
And so we saw a lot of stuff, whether it was at the Craft Brewers Conference in the US somewhere, or whether it was a trip we'd been to New York or something like that. But we saw stuff and thought, geez, that would be great back in New Zealand, and the ability to be able to bring that back was cool as well. So we kind of have that exposure, not just looking at ourselves all the time. We're looking out and seeing what the industry is doing around the world, and bringing that back to New Zealand, which is interesting too.
You sometimes find really good ideas just come out of conversations,
Yeah.
I saw this, I noticed this in this industry, not even beer-related industries, and hiring or having people on the team that are really smart and engaged and in the market and different stages of their life and things, So it's just having the awareness to listen and good ideas are there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's got to make sure you don't try and do all the buggers, because it takes up quite a bit of time, your ideas.
Yeah.
I think we're quite market-led in terms of, if we invent or create a new cider flavour, we need to be able to walk out of the room and into the office and talk to everyone in the office, and hey, what do you think about? And if they're all in there going, oh wow, I can't wait to taste that, you're 80% of the way there.
Yeah.
If they have to ask, what does that mean, or what beer style is that, or what flavours is that all about, or that sounds a bit weird, you're probably going to have a harder time. So, but we've evolved to this point though.
Yeah, if you're thinking on an idea in your head, and you're thinking on it, and then you try to explain it to somebody else, and you hear yourself saying it and notice their reaction, it's a good indication of the bloody ideas, is a decent one or not.
Yeah.
But we're not short of ideas.
Yeah.
Like a lot of companies have plenty of ideas. It's having that discipline about choosing which one you're going to sort of back,
Yeah. Yeah, so like what I'm hearing there in terms of like how it works is like everybody, and I know I've spoken to you about this, Daryl, but like everybody has their strength and what that is, and you mentioned it there too, Jason, in terms of having like very clever people within the walls here of Good George, that you empower them to, you have these ideas and you spitball, you have conversation, and then it's like, okay, yep, we could make this work, and then you empower the people that are good in that area. So Brian, you're the brewer, so they empower you to be able to go in that direction. Yeah.
So we have like an ideas board, which just keeps getting added to. It's online these days, but you just keep adding onto it, and you can pretty much pitch anything into there, and we can bounce it around and see what people think, and make sure that actually we can do it. Makes sense. We're not throwing some weird stuff in there.
There's got to be a culture though to listen, because sometimes good ideas take a little bit of, we have a system where you can bloody bring another idea back and go, I know you guys don't like this idea, but it's coming back again. Here it is again. Here's my different angle I'm pitching it. But so you've got to have that creative flow.
And getting empowering people to say no, I think that's a shit idea. Mm-hmm. Brian? So somebody may be quite new to the team, but if it's not landing or they don't understand it, it's just, rather than sitting there quiet, going along with it, it's getting them, so you've got to actively seek out some of those quiet dissenters at times, because it's all valid. There's no point in something doesn't work so well and 3 months later having a told you so, or I didn't think that was ever. Yeah. So we try and get that stuff out there. So
it's often a quiet person that's got the real little bit of truth,
Yeah, bit of gold, eh?
Yeah.
I noticed that a lot in rugby, and it's something that we talk about it a lot, but we don't practice it that well, if that makes sense. I'll try and contextualize that a little bit more. So we always talk about everybody feeling valued, everybody having an opinion, but it's like how you can't just, that doesn't just happen. You can't just say, oh, you know, everybody, if we all sat around here with everyone and said, oh, look, you can all say whatever you want, that new person on day one's still not going to say anything because they'll be like, I only just got here. But it's like how you create that relationship with that person, because everyone's in a different way of how they'll open up. So I see it all the time in rugby, and probably as I got more experience and I got a good understanding of it, you deal with people on a one-on-one basis. Well, some people just talk like they don't care who's around. They'll just be like, they'll voice their opinion, and that's fine. And normally they're the ones that rub everyone up the wrong way, and people don't listen to them because they're like, what? You only just got here, shut up. And that happens quite a lot in rugby. And then so that happens, so the rest of the guys that actually got a good point, or they're building up the courage to say something, won't, because they're like, oh, he got told to shut up. But it's how you get alongside them, and it's, you know, sometimes it's having a beer, and then some of the things that come out sometimes I'm like, oh my god, like you could have changed our whole game if you mentioned this 3 months ago. But it's just they don't have that. It's finding a way to, I suppose, empower or embrace that person for them to be able to speak and to feel comfortable, because people will open up in different scenarios. So it must be a pretty tough balancing act in business as well, I imagine.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, it is. I mean, because the three of us are real actively involved every day. So it's we're always really conscious of getting that balance right when we're essentially just working alongside a whole bunch of people in the business, and everyone has good days and bad days, and what have you, eh? So we don't always get it right, that's for sure. But
no, I've noticed I haven't been getting invited to some of these meetings. Or something.
Oh, really?
It's, what we have is a good dynamic in that within the team. So if I have an idea or someone has an idea, it pretty much never is that first idea which gets picked up. It goes to somebody else who has a different version of it, and then to somebody else, and then to Jason, to Daryl, and to Dan or whatever, and it always comes back, not the same idea, but it's better. So we do embrace that collaboration in terms of what we're doing, and always adding to something. Not shooting it down, of course, but adding more and more to it. So all of a sudden, the pavlova beer's got cherries, and it's got some cool stuff going. You thought, man, that's it's becomes a better idea with everybody's input.
Same as with in sport. If I kind of get it, you've got to involve everybody, and they should only be there if they're worthy to be there as well. Don't have muppets working. You've got a strong performing team. So if they've had input into it, they're going to buy into it a hell of a lot more, same as on the field, because I've been part of the process sort of style. As long as it doesn't slow the process up to a halt, trying to get everybody to agree and stuff. Someone's got to make a decision at some stage, and this is where we're going, and this is what we're going to do. Get on, fucking train. So
that's where that real clear leadership comes in, eh?
I think I think COVID schooled us up a bit in that area as well, because we had to make real big decisions every day, and once you start exercising those decision muscles, or whatever you want to call them, you actually you build momentum, and you remember it was probably like this back when we first started, but when you grow a little bit and you get a few more people around it, you get a bit I don't know, sometimes you get a bit indecisive, or it's probably other words for it, a bit lazy, or a bit cluttered in a structure. So COVID got us back to a point of just really just getting stuck in and getting on with it as well. So everyone's got a say, and but let's get this decision made real quick. And when you've got momentum, a whole bunch of other cool stuff happens out of that as well. So
it's doing three things really well rather than doing 7 things averagely. And making sure those 3 things are wicked. If you've got 10 moves on the field, they're not going to get necessarily 10 tries. You got 3 wicked ones, are you? Game on.
Here's your dollar analogy. Got a dollar to spend, Brian?
That's right. Where do you spend it?
Do you want to explain that one?
Daryl can't remember.
I was throwing you.
Daryl's had the idea. Now I'm going to take the idea and I'm going to go back to Jason.
Oh, really? No, cool. Wow, this is this idea that I came up with. Sweet.
Yeah.
No, we have this when we're sort of putting together a plan, like a 30-day plan, 100-day plan, or 700-day plan, that we say if we had $1, we went to the races, if we had $1, what are we going to spend that dollar on? So we might make a big 50-cent bet on the horse we think is going to be wicked. That's our big prize, and then we might spend 20 cents, and then 10 cents. Is that it?
Yeah.
On these
That's
others.
$1.
That's $1?
Yeah.
Sweet as. And then there's other 10
We
cents.
have $1.10 once, didn't we? That's another story.
But once you've chosen the horses you're going to back, then that's how you allocate your time and resource as well.
that
So
makes sense.
50% or 50 cents of your dollar goes into that, whatever it is, that move or that part of your business, and you become excellent at it. And then after a while, you just have to check in and make sure that it's actually still relevant, those things, and that you actually are doing what you said you're going to do and spend that much time on it. Because this little 10-cent idea might be, turns into a 50-cent idea down the track because it's just got all that gold.
Yeah.
So otherwise what you do is you end up spending fucking half your time on something that's quite irrelevant, and this big opportunity, the big horse doesn't get the loving, so it doesn't sort of, how's that?
Yeah,
it's
I
good.
like that.
It's quite deliberate in what you're going about.
Yeah.
It's trademarked as well, that, obviously. Trademarked that.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, well, I think about that. I quite often think of the analogy, like, because when especially through my younger part of my career, probably the whole time really, except for the last probably 2 or 3, I played every position in the back line for Waikato except halfback. So it was the old saying of like, I couldn't master anything, so I was like a jack of all trades but master of none. So, and people would always ask like, oh, when are you going to get a crack at the All Blacks? Are they talking to you? They're looking at you. I'm like, the All Blacks don't need utilities, they need a specialist, because if there's an injury, they don't need to pull from their squad. They just go and get the next best centre or the next best second five or first or whatever position that is. So where in a Super Rugby squad or a Waikato squad, a utility is really valuable. But as you go into the pinnacle or the top, you have to be the master to get a spot.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, because you're in the best team in the world, and then generally the reserve is the second best player in the world in a lot of cases, like in the All Blacks and World Rugby. So for me, I constantly was like, it was very hard because I do the old 50 cent, now that I think about it, I would do like 50 cent, I'd be spending 50 cents of my dollar on second five probably right throughout my whole career, but I didn't play there till the last 3 years. So it's like I was constantly working at all the skills that I wanted for there, but then and the 10% or 10 cents of my dollar, which was the wing, I played 90% of my games. And that's probably a real good, it's a good analogy for me now that I've heard it. I'm like, makes kind of sense maybe why I didn't go any further or didn't get the opportunity.
It's that squealer is a pretty good example of a 50 cent. We concentrated on that pretty hard because that unique bottle, that was a point of difference from us. Even back 9 years ago, it was still a bit of a crowded market then. So how we were going to stand out on shelf and what we were going to do differently. So we went heavy and hard on that for a long time to build that brand recognition and all of that sort of carry on. So that's been a big focus over time.
Yep.
So it's a discipline not just for us but for the rest of the team, team meetings or whatever, board meetings or whatever it is sort of style, we sort of share all that stuff as well.
Yep.
Yeah, so we don't get it right all the time though, we always, it's nice to have a plan, then you can veer off on it,
And it was always about that squeal. It was what everyone else is doing, don't do it. So everyone else was going towards 330 or 6-pack bottles. We didn't. We stayed with squirters.
Yeah.
It's a good size too.
What's beer to share? I had to work hard to get the squirters from the growlers, remember?
Yeah.
I was thinking, because my argument was on a Tuesday night, I have to drink 2 whole litres of beer. And these guys thought I was a bit soft. For ages, they called me soft. And now, we finally got the squirrel. Like, yes, so that's a Tuesday night drink.
Still good. The squealer's great. It's been wicked, so it's such a good way to have beer. And it's so good for the beer as well. The shape of the bottle, the size of the neck, the colour of it, the whole part. It's just made for wicked beer.
Yeah, it's great for sharing. You know, that's the idea of it.
Oh, you meant to share it.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Shit, I thought I was doing something wrong.
Yeah. But it's had its an interesting history. That's good, hasn't it, Daryl?
It has. It has.
Well, those ones we used there that used to blow up.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've got two interesting, which became opportunities. Of course, we don't have problems, do we? But there was two particular instances where we thought, what the hell have we done?
Well, when we started, they were called Boston Rounds, and we had to import them from Kansas of all places, which was a nightmare. Pre-labelled, cash up front.
Screen printed, yeah.
Shipped in shipping containers, and all of the drama trying to get the supply, and they would have port strikes and all this sort of carry on. But what we didn't know when we started making a lot of them was that they weren't designed to have liquid under pressure. So they weren't really supposed to be.
They didn't tell you that?
No.
Did you tell them you're making
I think
beer?
they never
Oh,
asked.
no, I rang them up.
Oh, yeah?
I rang them up and said, what are these Boston Rounds made for? And they said, beer.
Oh.
I said, yeah, but we have a problem in New Zealand that when it gets to about 30 degrees and they're on a shelf, they spontaneously explode. Which is a bit of a problem for beer. And they said, oh, keep the beer cold. That was their answer.
Oh, yeah?
Keep the beer cold. We're like, oh, shit. So we literally had a couple of afternoons going, oh, shit, what do we do now? We're going to have to go out and buy, 100 fridges to try and keep the beer cold in all these liquor lands and that kind of stuff, eh? Yeah.
Someone sent us a photo of their pantry, and they didn't know. Someone had given them craft beer, and they didn't know what it was. They stuck it in the pantry, and of course it was like hot summer, and they sent us a photo of a shard of glass stuck in the roof of their pantry, and it was like, ooh.
Yeah.
We can eat it this way.
Yeah.
But so there was some moments, and it didn't happen. It was a faulty batch of glass, which made it
was.
Yeah.
which made it worse. The glass was weaker, but it was our problem, and but it's kicked us into action, and we worked with OI Glass and developed our own mould, and got that underway, and that's been wicked to partner with those guys, and got a distinctive Good George one made ourselves.
So it's been crafted so it looks a little bit like a combi, like the front of the combi. It's got that sort of same shape and stuff on it.
Yeah.
Sort of jazz, but yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. So that made us fast track and get our shit
Yeah,
together.
and also the fact that it wasn't a leader.
Oh,
So
yeah,
we got a call. I got a call one day from our marketing guy who was in the brewery. He said, "Oh, Brian, what's the size of this squirter?" And I said, "It's a litre." He goes, "Well, I'm in a brewery with a measuring cylinder, and it's only 946 mils." I was like, "Oh shit, what?" And of course, then it made perfect sense because they're coming in from the US at 32 fluid ounces, which isn't a litre. We had 200,000 to 300,000 of them on the water, all with 1 litre. It's printed on them, and we were like, "Oh, what do we do?" So we rang up. Who rang up Weights and Measures? One of us rang up Weights and Measures and said, "Listen, we've cocked up. We've got this beer, and what are we going to do?" And it's not. We've labelled all 1 litre. It's 946 mils. And they said, "No worries. Thank you for ringing. Because you rang us, you're gold.
Yep.
All you need to do now is just make sure that every time you do another one, every time you sell from now, you have to relabel them at 946 mils." So we had an army of people just putting little wee 946 mils over the 1 litre part. For weeks after that. But
then when we did the new mould though, we were like, this is part of our story now. So we've kept it at 946 mils, and because it's you turn a fuck up into a feature. That's what they say. Yeah. And we've certainly we've done that on a few fronts, I think.
Well, no one gets it right the first time in anything in life. And if you do, you're full of shit.
Well, no.
Hey, really? You just learn and evolve and adapt, and that's human nature. We're not robots. We don't get you. We're programmed.
That's the cleverness. To identify, make it better, adapt, get on with it.
That's how you deal with it too. We went on social media, went on Facebook and owned up and what have you, and you got shitloads of like real positive engagement. Like people thought it was quite funny. You know, it contributed to that whole these boys, are they really making it up as they go along, which is kind of half true, but that's craft, I guess. It's, we brew our beer one batch at a time, and it's always little quirky things come up along the way. It's part of the journey, part of the brand.
Yeah, that's cool. And then, like, another big thing that I got from conversation with you, Daryl, is around that you don't hire anybody here. So we've talked about the quality of people. Like, there's some very clever and intelligent people within the brand here at Good George, but you don't hire anyone, no matter the qualifications, if you can't have a beer with them.
Yeah.
That's a pretty strong. So it's the quality of person over the stats, if that makes sense. Because in rugby, sometimes certain coaches are completely different. Some coach will pick all, like Johnny Gibbs, pick all on quality of person. Couldn't give two shits about how strong they are, how fast they are, what they look like. But then other coaches will just pick solely on their body shape, how strong are they in the gym, who gives a shit if they're a shit person. They've got all these wicked stats, they're going to be a good player. So, but here, it's about the quality of person over the stats.
Yeah, totally. Like, and it's hard, let's say this right, but it's hard to find good people. It's hard to, and every time we've sort of sat down and gone, gee, it would be nice to have somebody like this on our team at a meeting with their viewpoint, and you might go out specifically trying to find that person, and it just never works out the right way. And then sometimes when you're not looking for anybody in particular, you might meet somebody or someone drops in a CV and you're like, wow, they're cool.
Yeah.
And that's the time to be doing your hiring, right? Sometimes when you're not looking for people, it's just that quality of person coming along, and generally get them in the business and they're adding value straight away and take us sort of add to a direction that we might not even we want to go there, but we're just like, how do we get there? And then meet that person, away we go.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the team we've had some great people. We've worked with some cool people away over the years, and it's been awesome. And certainly the team that we've had this year, we've kind of feel like through COVID, like a lot of businesses, I guess, feel like we've been to war together and been in the trenches. So they're quite tight. It's been a long year, but we're having to sort of G ourselves up to keep going. But the team we've got, wicked. And we share a few beers with them from time to time too.
Yeah, well, because I often think about this in a sports environment, and I think of my rugby club in terms of Morrinsville. Everyone's like, oh, it's such a wicked club, and everyone there's like, they think it's like the club that make the people, but it's not. It's not. It's the complete opposite. It's the people that make the club. Where everyone thinks, Morrinsville just makes these good buggers. It's like, no, they're good people before they get there. The club empowers them to do so because everybody else that's there is a good bugger. So you either jump on or you jump off. Like it's quite a simple, yet hard to replicate. If that makes sense. Like it's quite a simple thing. It's like, if you got a bunch of good people, straight away the shit person that comes along, they'll stand out and they'll, either be pushed off or they'll jump off because they don't feel comfortable. But it's hard to create that environment. And I imagine that this environment, and you're dealing a lot with hospitality still, which would be a constant moving environment. People wouldn't stay in roles for, sort of long time, would they?
It is quite a transient sort of industry, particularly with a lot of students coming through and people, not so much at the moment with travelling, but we would lose a few people that way. But look, our best venues are generally the ones that have a lower team turnover, and that's just down to their leadership in each venue, the GMs and their people, how well they're looking after their teams. And if they're doing that good job, people want to stick around. They feel like they're part of something. Yeah. So it's
good people attract good people,
Yeah.
So that's one of the key things.
Yeah.
One of the key things for our team is to make sure that it's like a family. but it's slightly different in the fact that, you know, everybody's got weird uncles or weird brothers and sisters. You've got to go put up with them, right?
Yeah.
You know, those are the rules you have to. Whereas in business, if you're going to be part of the family, you've got to earn your keep. You know, you've got to play by the rules, and if you don't play by the rules, then it's kind of, you know, get off or move on kind of style. So yeah, you've got to be a little bit protective over that as well, because good people don't like working with average stuff as well, you know.
Yeah.
So got to be a little bit protective over that.
And you can't have egos. I don't think with Good George is never around one of us or any one particular. It's not built around a one brewer, or our venues aren't built on just one chef or those like some other places are. So we it's not about, you know, everyone's can sort of come and go, I guess, with the brand keeps humming along.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But that's sustainable, isn't it?
Yep.
Like if you're relying solely, you know, like if you build a team around one charismatic leader, as soon as that person's gone, then what, you know, what's going to happen to that team? Yeah. But if you're building an environment where, I guess, responsibility and leadership spreads out through the group and people feel empowered, that's when you get sustainability, and it just keeps to evolve. Because if people move on, that person would have been upskilling who's behind them anyway, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. Like we've been, I mean, hospice, it's a cool industry. It's really challenging, but you can learn so fast, because 7 days a week and often open for like 16, 17 hours a day, and you see a lot of things and do a lot of things, and see people at their worst and best and all of that, as we know, Sweens.
Yeah.
So you do learn a lot. So we've been schooled up over the years, and we've probably burnt good people over that time, and you look back and think, oh, if we'd done this differently, or I wish things had turned out otherwise, and you learn from that along, and still learning. But one of the coolest things we've had here is, you know, when people work for us in a venue, it might be part-time as a student or whatever, then they do their travels, and 10 years later they might come back and they're working for us on the sales team, or they're running a venue, or
There's heaps of examples of that,
or become a brewer and stuff like that. So it's
or business partners over years as well. So.
Yeah, and a lot of the people in the Waikato, a lot of the people that who are now working and got their own businesses, or they've got careers in the Waikato, a lot of them work with us way back in the day, and so it's good to have those sort of networks. And if they didn't want to talk to you ever again, then you wouldn't have those networks. So it's all it's been a good, useful journey. And before we opened the brewery too, we had a lot of, you know, we were sponsoring ND Cricket, we were doing balloons over Waikato, we were obviously involved with Waikato Rugby, you know, a lot of hospice and True Colours, and those networks existed before we brewed our first drop. So it's been cool to be able to carry on and get involved more in a bigger way now that we've got the brewery humming along. Yeah.
Well, people don't forget that sort of thing, do they? Like that's one thing that I've noticed through my rugby career. Like, I'm very thankful for the environment that you guys created for me back, and my teammates back in the day, and you know, to the point where if I see Good George on like shelf, I'll buy it because I'll be like, oh, it's Jason and Daryl, you know, like there's that straight away, there's that little bit more to it because you're connected to it, and the bigger you can grow that network and you have people feeling that way about something, then that creates strength in the brand, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's a little bit of what goes around comes around kind of style, which is positive,
Yeah.
I think what Brian said before too about our timing being really good. I mean, it was people were looking for local brands, you know, New Zealand made, especially now as well, but we sort of come along and people got a little bit of local pride out of supporting their local breweries, but they do it with like bakeries, like
cheese,
It was a craft beer desert. Hamilton 2011, there was no craft breweries here, and we just didn't know whether it was going to be successful or not. So we were cautiously optimistic, but we really had no idea. We thought if we did 18 kegs a week in this pub, I remember, you know, we were going to business for 18 kegs a week, we'll be okay, we'll break even. That's kind of that was our sole aspiration, was just start a brew pub in Frankton and see what happens.
Yeah.
We had no aspiration on that, but we were nervous because we didn't know whether people from the Waikato would actually like craft beer or not.
Yeah, well, it's a very staunch drinking base here in
Yeah.
the Waikato, isn't
Yeah.
it? Like,
Yeah. And
I
you,
think of my dad and all his friends.
you came in here, you could only drink our beer.
Yeah.
So it was a bit of a challenge to a lot of people.
You've got a Willie the Waiter tattoo, haven't you?
No, my brother does though. But he's holding a fishing rod instead of a beer, so I'll let him get away with that one.
Oh, we've got a couple of locals who've got Good George tattoos as well.
Oh,
It's
nice.
pretty hardcore, eh?
Yeah.
Working.
That must be a pretty cool feeling to think that someone wants to put their brand on their body permanently.
That's a bit of a responsibility, eh?
Yeah.
Don't change the brand.
Yeah, don't rebrand or rename.
I had a guy come in Iguana back in the day and go, I was on the bar, I was serving away, and the guy comes up and goes, if I got your logo tattooed on my ass, would you give me a free beer? I was like, it's kind of random. I was like,
Yeah.
you're supposed to. Shows me his ass, he's got an iguana tattoo on his ass.
Like you must have
I
lost
was
a big
mixed,
bet.
man. Oh, yeah, totally. Yeah. It's weird.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's what I call this.
I did want to talk about, and it's kind of like segued into that, but a motto that is here is like Fortress of Waikato. So you spoke about it there when you opened, you're the only craft brewery based here in the Waikato. So what's the sort of mantra or the mindset that you have behind that?
I think when we first started, you sit around a whiteboard and get your strategy going. And one of the things that we always find useful is you find something successful, someone who's gone before you in a similar industry, and look at what's made them successful. So we had a look at a couple of other breweries and what made them successful in Australia and New Zealand as well. And one of the things that was really resonated with us was their local, how powerful they were locally. They were selling, like, they were considered a nationwide brand, but they sold 80% of their products within 150 k's of their brewery.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like, some people think if it's a measure of success might be that you export or you win awards or you do different stuff like that. But at the end of the day, being able to make something and deliver it fresh 5 minutes down the road, that's success, right? Because it's there, it's quick, it's fresh, it's doesn't cost as much money to freight, all of those sorts of things. But we also knew that at times are tough, you fall back on your region, and that's where you get that local support. And we've seen it firsthand this year, right? During that lockdown, it was we had a day before, it was like the Thursday before Good Friday, and there was 7 of us driving around in our utes delivering all over Hamilton and out to Morrinsville and just crazy
What a place,
places.
Morrinsville.
Oh, I know. It's like, it's so sophisticated. Look at all this craft beer going in there. And but it was really good. But having that local strength. So when we're doing the strategy, we called it Fortress Waikato and decided within that Chiefs region that we wanted to be sort of regarded as the local craft beer. And we weren't quite sure of how we were going to do it all, but that was the sort of driving motto, and that included the Coromandel as well, obviously Raglan, and so we just focused a lot on making sure our service was good into those communities, and we were sponsoring the right stuff, and they felt looked after, and no one else was calling on them at that stage either. So it was just good to, we signed one little cafe in Wangmatar, and now we're even at the golf club over there, and we've got 4 or 5 other venues and stuff like that. All start with one little wee chink in the, and craft beer within, as you touched on before, in the Waikato region, it's a tough one to crack. Back then, nowadays, different story, right? But we've had a great deal of, we've got as much back as we put in to that region and continue to do so. It's been a great place to do business.
Yeah. Well, I think from like a sports point of view, like if you're thinking you look after your own backyard first, so you look after yourself or your own, then kind of results in the rest takes care of itself. So if you do, I suppose in the business sense, it gets to a point where you start to export. If you're strong locally, then that's an easy transition. if it makes sense. But if it's not sink or swim. It's like, okay, we're going to be tactical of how we do this. I'm not going to just dive straight in the deep end, but we're going to invest and put time into this, and then it slowly evolves and grows, and then you've got a real strong, stable base and foundation to like build from.
Yeah, plus two, it's our backyard, right? So if we try to sign up a new bar and they decide to go with a competitor, we've got to drive past that bar every day, you know, and so that we like to win, just like we've got that spirit within us, so, and like to compete, so, and we like those areas. They're where we go on, where we, you know, where we come from and where we holiday, and you know, it warms the heart to drive past when you see the little Good George sign outside a cafe or something like that. It's cool.
Even one in Morrisville.
It's good.
If you're winning as in a business sense, because as Daryl said, you know, we like to win, we are competitive. But if you're winning along with the community as well that you're in, that's a special win, right? That's way more empowering, and I think it's got way more sustainability and longevity. So the community connection is just such a key part to the vibe of success and winning, totally. So and we're lucky, man, because Hamilton Waikato has been so supportive of it. It's been great.
I grew up with parents, or especially my dad, like everything was about supporting local, and like COVID's kind of kick-started it right across the whole country. But I think back to my childhood and growing up, that was kind of the way of life. Like, you looked after your own first. So for me, grew up in small town, grew up in Morrisville, we would only come to Hamilton to get something if we couldn't get it in Morrisville. That was the way. Even if it cost us more, Dad was like, no, you go and buy it there, or you go down and you get that there, because you go to school with his son, and or put your brothers in his daughter's class, or whatever it is. Like, there was that connection there, and it was all about supporting local people within the community. But then now with COVID's kind of happened, we kind of realised, oh shit, we've gone away from that, because everyone's chasing very small margins sometimes, but they're looking for that because that's, I suppose, the way we've kind of been wired. But now people are starting to think, like, well, actually, like, I would rather buy something from somebody or something that I feel connected to. And that's why, like, this is awesome having you guys come on here for this podcast, because now your customers, or even your workers or people that are thinking about coming to work for you, can listen to this and be like, oh, that's a cool brand, like, feel more connected to it. Rather than just, they have nice beer. It's like, well, actually, there's all this that goes into producing that nice beer, and it creates like a real, I feel like this is a good platform to create good connectivity to the client base or the customers. Yeah,
it does. I mean, it's still got to be, even though you're local, you've still got to be good at what you do, right? Because people, particularly in hospitality, they're discerning, and they want value for every dollar that they spend. So that's an important part. And you've got to be in the right platforms, like online. This year in particular has it's been a great way for locals to be able to support us and find all of our products and shop the range like they haven't been able to do in the past. But we had it there, but they've learnt new skills over COVID. So it's an area we're having to put a lot more time and effort in, but that works out. So even a business in Morrisville, right, even though it's local, would have to have all those other things strong and going on. So
quality of people, which is the focus here. So
completely
good way to stay connected.
It's the thing about building a brand, it's not just about beer, it's about everything else that connects to it and the whole part. So it's important.
So talking about winning, like, that's come up a little bit there, and we forgot to mention it at the start when we talked about the success of the Cider Awards, but you just had the Waikato Business Awards on Friday. Do you just want to talk about what you've won there? Because there's quite a cool story to that too, isn't there?
I remember what we won.
Table 11 was a bit rowdy on Friday night. No, we picked up at the Waikato Chamber of Commerce Awards. We picked up a marketing award for our we used our hand sanitizer project as a So we entered the awards basically because we wanted to showcase that and shine a bit more light on and publicity, because that project, even though it got a nice publicity right at the start, because it was like at the end of week 1 of the first lockdown.
Yep.
And we had the TV down here and what have you, and here's these crazy guys from a brewery in Hamilton that are turning whiskey into hand sanitizer. That generated publicity, but at that time we'd only made 200 litres and it was just sort of a drop in the ocean. We welcomed the publicity because at that time we weren't quite sure if we were essential service, and we didn't know what the hell was going on.
Did they?
And it was just like a cool thing for the team to get behind as well. But out of that we got some phone calls and we ended up making a couple of thousand litres ourselves, and then we managed to get some ethanol out of Fonterra, 10,000 litres, and we were like, hang on, I'm pretty sure there's some rules around storing ethanol of that quantity. And so rang up Kip from Diosan. They were out at Wahara, and they were animal health chemicals they produce, and they've got the capacity to do it. And I was like, Kip, can you tell me how we can store this safely? And he's like, no, you just bring it out to me and I'll mix it for you. So we took everything out there, and we had Tim from Elite Polymers ring up, and he contributed 4,000
Bottles,
plastic bottles to the project. Simon Perry, the Perry Group, rang up and said, how can I help? So he threw some dollars in to get the project moving, and then so suddenly we went from 200 bottles and we ended up making about 14,000 litres, and of that we probably owed about 4,500 litres away to Waikato primary schools and some into Auckland as well.
Yeah.
Because when they were reopening, the Ministry of Education didn't have hand sanitizer ready for some of the schools.
Yeah.
So that was pretty cool to be able to deliver those, and that's just a real good example of Waikato businesses, or businesses anywhere, just collaborating and working really well. When the shit hits the fan and the chips are down, it's the local people that pull you through. So we wanted to highlight that, and because unfortunately, like anything in the media or the world these days, it was like a big flash in the pan at the start, and then after that no one really wanted to sort of find out any more about it.
But obviously that was when it evolved, was after that first story, it became like the ball just started rolling.
That was when the cool stuff really happened, right?
Yeah.
So it went from something that we could sell online to keep our business going to actually it's about this wider thing and this cool thing. And then we worked with Thomas at the WaterBoy with our Be Good Do Good charity, and he distributed it into the schools, and it was a real neat project.
Yeah.
And we just wanted to use that to highlight it, and it obviously won the award, which was cool, and cool for our people who partnered us in it with us.
Yeah, well, it's amazing, like what people will do when they're aware of something. So, like when I often think about it when you go to, well, I'll use Morrinsville again as an example, but we had a couple of weeks ago, I IMC'd a night where we auctioned off our jersey sponsors for the backer jerseys for the senior A's and senior B's, and some of the money that people throw in for these, and it's like, I don't know if they're going to get the return for what they put in for it, but it's just that it's not about that for them. It's just about giving. It's about supporting the local club. Like, they've got a connection to it through the fact that they played maybe 20 years ago, or their grandson does play, or whatever it is. Like, if people that are aware and they can give to support something, it's amazing how much people will give. Like, I had one of our major sponsor, he ended up buying a jersey, came up to me afterwards, and he's putting my podcast name on the back of it. So it was just like, what? And he bought the jersey for $1,000, and he's just like, oh yeah, I just want you to put your podcast name on the back, and the only rule is that you do a podcast down at work. And I was like, okay, sweet ass. But he was just aware of what I was doing. He wanted to help, and then that's what sort of comes out of it. Like, it's pretty amazing what people will do, if they're aware.
Yeah, people want to be, especially today, because the world's just pretty fucked up, right?
Yeah.
So a cause that they can get involved with that's got some positivity to it, and big or small, People just dead set keen to inject that. They're just sick of the headlines, sick of elections, sick of all that, all the bullshit, right?
Yeah.
So they always want to look forward and feel like they are contributing and part of a cause. So that's what stuff we picked up on. I think we're in the at a convention or something last year when we could travel, and they talked about the fact that people aren't so much, they don't want to belong to an exclusive club so much anymore. They want to just be part of a wider cause, because I mean people don't have time to join all the clubs. They don't have time to get involved and do that or be exclusive, and it doesn't feel right in today's world. But they really want to contribute to causes. So we try and take that to our marketing and the charity projects and things that we get involved with. Try and keep that top of mind.
No, that's cool. And then you mentioned there, but like the WaterBoy partnership, because that's a cool initiative, and that's something that we've done a little bit with also through rugby with Waikato and stuff. Like we do the bag drop where we bring in all our old gear bags and then they get distributed out to kids in need and stuff. Like how did that partnership come about in terms of you guys working with Thomas there?
Well, I think it was Matt Palmer again who made the intro to Thomas, and I had a chat to him one day and he told me about the work they were doing. So yeah, it took a little while, but why it appealed to us is because it was a chance we could contribute to a whole bunch of kids, just not like spending $5,000 and you're sponsoring one kid doing one single thing. What we got was, I said to Thomas, we'll come on board, but we want to do lots. We want to contribute, the price for a pair of rugby boots and the fees for the season, or some Uber money to get to training and stuff like that. So we were able to, he basically invented a whole category of new sponsorship within his, the charity he does at the WaterBoy, which is a fantastic charity. So basically enable kids to get into sport that otherwise wouldn't have a chance to. And so we like it because there's whole families of kids who are now getting part of the Be Good Do Good WaterBoy. They're all benefiting, not just one who might be good at sport and has potential but can't go, but now all the kids can participate. So we've done that now, and I think it's about 60 or 70 kids now that have benefited from that, and we raise money through all of our venues, all of our restaurants have a menu item, $1 goes. So our customers are really feeding into that. And we pass that directly on to Thomas, and he's doing such good work, and we trust the way he does it, and we couldn't administer something like that. And we're really proud of the work that he's doing, and it's cool to be able to do lots. And we did about 40 kids before we told anybody as well. I think that's a big thing. What we try and do is sort of we do it, and before we talk about it, I think that's a real. Some businesses come out in the early days and say we're going to donate XYZ and we are going to do this and we're going to do that, and I think it's just important for something like that, which is really important to get the messaging right. So we wanted to have done it. So when we launched it, we actually had some of the kids there and they got up and spoke about how they'd used the money in that. So it was really cool, eh?
Yeah, if you go to the lunchroom there's kind of stories of all the kids that have been sponsored as well. So it's good for our team to be able to feel just helping with part of something which is bigger than what we do here. Yeah. So they're all stories are in there. It's quite interesting to just read some of them.
No, it's cool, eh? It's it's such a cool initiative, what Thomas has done. And same again, like it's amazing what people will do, and how far they will go to help. Like Thomas is a perfect example of that with the WaterBoy.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, there's some cool sponsors. There's, they've got a great family of sponsors and that involved in that. He's doing really good work.
Yeah. I did want to talk about, obviously, being like a small craft brewery based here in Hamilton. How tough is it, or how hard is it, or is it even anything you think about trying to compete with the big breweries based here in New Zealand?
Yeah, we're considering buying them. Yeah. Yeah, it's actually really good that they're on the market, and they're part of the reason we got into the business to start with. I used to work with the breweries. Obviously, Brian's done. I always work with the breweries as well. Apprenticeship with the breweries and stuff, so we kind of get how they operate in bits and pieces. And working in hospitality as well, we sort of rubbed up against them quite a bit. So they were a big part of the reason we actually got into the business, because of a bit of frustration and how they rolled and the whole bit. So it's great that they exist, because it means that we can punch up against them quite nicely. So
it's good that they're actually pushing the market with us as well. So a lot of the Emerson's products and stuff and other products within the marketplace, which they're doing down there with Mike Nelson and those guys down at Panhead, they're doing great products which are just bringing more people to craft, which is helping everybody in the industry. So they're doing a good job, and then they're actually trying to they genuinely, I feel like they feel that there is some opportunity in craft, which is great to see, because it lets us know that we're on the right track and gives us some, when they're producing these hazy beers and all that kind of stuff, they're right on trend, they're right on point with the quality of the beer they do. So it's great. They're the rising tide, floats all boats.
I don't know, is it intimidating because they are so big, or it's just obviously the focus here is look after your own backyard first, so that's not really a factor. You're just we'll just control what we can control, and then the rest will take care of itself.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, we compete with them often, every day for shelf space. We and I'm sure we're an annoyance from time to time. We're if someone's opening a new bar in Auckland or in Christchurch or wherever, we're there trying to get our business now, and we're offering and we're doing things that the big guys have traditionally had to themselves. So we're keeping them honest in that regard. We don't, we don't. It's hard to win, but we do have our little wins here and there, and it's cool when we do. So I mean, at the end of the day, it's the operators who are looking for a point of difference now.
Yep.
So they know that they can't keep up with the same boring shit that they were offering their customers 10 years ago. And so the big breweries, they've recognised that. That's why they're into the hazies and why they've got other products and diversifying like that. So we're keeping that part of the industry honest, if you like. But we're we're probably one of 10 reasonable sized craft brewers in New Zealand that are playing in that same space and doing good work.
It's good, healthy competition.
Yeah, it spurs you on. Absolutely. Yeah. Like when we can take some taps off a DB or a Lion or something like that, there's always a degree of high five and satisfaction.
Yeah.
But there's some good people working in that company, and as Joe said, we've dealt with them lots over the years.
Yeah, no, that's cool. And then with the whole COVID side of things as well, so we've mentioned it a little bit there in terms of the, I suppose, people reconnecting back into local and supporting local. But the other thing that I found out about what you do here is that you have a farm as well that effectively supports the restaurants and businesses, and vice versa with the breweries supporting the farm. Do you just want to talk about that?
Yeah. A big ranch. Huge, man.
Huge?
Oh, massive. Yeah, I've got a little
pretty hardcore Tamahiri.
I've got mud on my gumboots. Yeah, I've got a little farm that we run some stock on. It actually it keeps my father-in-law entertained. He's an ex-farmer from Raglan.
Yep.
He lives with us, and he's got a bunch of livestock there. They're kind of more his pets.
Yeah.
We had the strategy. We have these cattle. We'll keep them for 100 days. Feed the grain from the brewery to these cattle. Get the marbling up, and then sell them through the restaurants. As prime. Yeah. Prime beef, which we do. But the hardest thing to do is actually get the stock off them, because he's up there rubbing their heads and stuff, massaging them and stuff. Yeah. So they are like pets. But it's a really cool part of. We're using all the byproduct of the brewing through the spent grain.
Yep.
So we're producing, I don't know how many tonnes a week, but mega. It might be confidential actually. Would it be?
Is it confidential?
Could be. I don't know.
Probably tons a week.
Add GST.
Yeah. do 10, 15 tonnes a week of wet grain, which is coming out. And it goes to at the moment to my cousin who's a goat farmer in Morrinsville, and they come in every day and get it.
Great place.
They get it, and the goats love it, and it's great for them. It's great for us. We need it off our we need it out.
Yep.
And so it's really good for the goats. And they do it does really good.
Yeah.
And fantastic for the marbling and the beef as well.
Yeah.
It brings out the marbling,
Yeah. Back in the early days when we because we've all got little small properties. Back in the early days when we were doing maybe a tonne a week, we could shoot around, 3 of us, but it got pretty big pretty fast, and then we got all this grain.
Yeah.
And then we went out on Facebook and got all the locals involved and coming out and picking out free grain and helping that. So it's been a.
He was actually on Country Calendar too, I think.
Who's that?
Doing the grain stuff. There was something on.
Oh yeah, we're on some rural TV program. Yeah.
But the grain's just fantastic food. It's got a lot of nutrients and stuff.
Yeah.
We actually had a couple of failed brews here when we had to stop the brew, so there's still a lot of sugar in the grain, and it sort of fermented. And I took it home and gave it to the cattle, and the cattle got drunk.
Oh yeah.
Which was quite funny for about maybe 30 seconds when these cattle are stumbling around, but big cattle falling through fences like whoa.
Yeah.
So to watch that one,
No, that's cool. And then I also understand there's a pretty funny story about a chef falling asleep in a cardboard dumpster.
Was that funny yet? Or
I don't know if it's funny yet.
Mandatory 5 years to become funny.
Yeah.
Remember that time you fell asleep in a dumpster?
Yeah. No.
Oh, it wasn't a chef, it was one of you
Oh,
three.
no, it was a chef. Oh, they had a big night in town, and he didn't want to miss his shift, and it was like 4 a.m, so he walked to the brewery and decided to have a sleep before his shift started, and he, unfortunately for him, he jumped in the cardboard cage, covered himself up to keep warm, and it happened to be the one morning a week the cardboard truck came and scooped it up and dumped him in the back with the rest of the cardboard.
At like 5 o'clock or 5:30 in the morning.
Oh.
So he woke up as he was tumbling in there, and then had the so he's like banging on the wall of the back of the truck, and luckily the truck driver didn't have his radio turned up.
Yeah.
Which he said he normally would have done. And he heard him banging, and then he rang the fire brigade, and they brought a ladder out and climbed in and got him out before it was compacted.
Oh, so they compact it like
in the truck.
Oh wow!
You know, like on Star Wars.
Yeah. Oh shit.
Yeah.
Oh.
So it was kind of a one of those oh my god moments.
Yeah.
And I didn't know anything about it. I was driving to work at like 8 a.m, and Waikato Times rang me up and asked me what was going on, and I didn't know anything about it.
Yeah.
But then I walked in and I just looked over and I saw him, and he had this look in his eye. I was like, oh, hang on, we might have been involved with this.
Yeah.
And but everyone was just so relieved.
Oh yeah.
It would have been
it would have been horrible.
It would have been a tragedy. And he was obviously in a lot of shock. Yeah. But yeah, he turned. I mean, what could you do? He was just that. He was trying to be conscientious. And so he's got a great story.
We've all fallen asleep in places we probably shouldn't have fallen asleep in.
Yeah.
So cardboard bin's not one of them.
No. I won't be doing that anytime in the future.
No.
What day do they come here? Let's just make sure.
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow? Okay.
We can cancel them.
Sweet. Thank you. One thing that has come through a lot is the word like partnership. Like we talked about the WaterBoy and what happened with the hand sanitizer and that as well. And I did want to talk about the Raglan Roast IPA and how that came about because Brian shot off to the toilet, but when he comes back he can add his bit in terms of the beer side of it.
Yep.
But how did that relationship come about with...
Oh, we had we talked about earlier on how we have a list of ideas that we're working on, and we did a collab with Rocket Coffee about 5 years ago. It was our first ever can collab that we did, and it was really, really successful, a coffee IPA. And so it's always been on our minds to have another go. And so this time we sort of thought, well, we'll just have a play around and we'll work with somebody else local. And their name got bandied around in the office because obviously we've got reps out there and we're customers ourselves, and so the intro was made. And do you want to talk about how the beer was?
Oh yeah, well, and a couple of our team live out there as well, so it's it's quite it's
Some
quite,
similarities on the brand.
Yeah,
part,
yeah.
You know?
And so then Bo came into. I sat down with Bo and had a couple of beers of an afternoon. Bo, and then
He
Tony
loves
as
the beer,
well.
Bo.
Yeah, well, Bo, Tony, the three of us got together first with Macca and Macca as well, and we actually didn't talk about the beer and we got to the end of the meeting. We just talked about chat.
Yeah.
And I thought, oh, maybe we should have talked about the beer, and we didn't talk about it at all. So the next week, Bo came in and we sat down and he bought some coffees, some different types of coffee, different. So the Ethiopian blend and the whatever Egyptian blend. I don't know what blends he had. They were excellent. Then what we did is rather than a lot of breweries add coffee to maybe a porter or a stout or a dark beer because that's just kind of the way it's done. So why don't we take our the last 3 years, our IPA has won gold medals every year at the New Zealand and the Australian Beer Awards. Every year, we thought, well, why don't we take our best product and put coffee in it and see what happens? So we did, and we tried a few different blends, and the one that we chose, which was the Ethiopian blend, Sadumo, just stood out. Has been really, really berry-like and fruity, and just went perfectly with the IPA. And we thought, great. Easy, done. So then we celebrated that with a couple more beers, and then they brought in the more. But the issue now is they need to make enough coffee for us because we've got to keep up.
Yeah.
And so they ground the coffee. We make the cold brew here.
Oh yeah.
And then we add the cold brew into the tank, into the fermenter. So works really well. And what it means is that we can always get that perfect blend.
Yeah. So
between that coffee and that hop aroma. And then the coffee should always come through in the flavour. So yeah, it's been great collaboration.
Yeah. Well, I love it. It's my favourite beer at the moment. Yeah, is it? Yeah.
Mine too. I think it's one of the best collaborations we've ever done.
Yeah.
I really do. I think it's one of those ones. I was over playing a game of golf at Matamata. We stopped in at Good Merchant, and I thought, oh, well, I'll just have a beer.
Yeah.
And I had one. I thought, geez, that's good. So I went back. It's like by the time I got home, I was hunting through trying to find anything. I found one. I was like, yes, and it was just really, really good.
Oh, it's so nice. So you get it nice and cold, and it's just it's refreshing. Oh,
and the
it's hard to explain.
And it's just about keeping it in balance. So the coffee can never be too much, and so it's really because maybe the first time we did it, maybe the guys are a bit more arty and crafty, and we were adding dry beating to the tank, and there was lots of complexities going on, and it was quite different. Now we've just made it really simple, and so we can replicate it every time, because that's one of the things that we really try to do well is make good beer consistently. So no one wants to be a good one week and bad the next week, so we try really hard. So everything we do, we try and work on making the best product we can do week in, week out.
Yeah, so was it meant to be like a limited run to start with? Like one batch.
One batch. Yeah. We were going to, I think, just on draft, wasn't Darryl? And then maybe a couple of 100 cases of squealers for online only, but it's still here.
Yeah.
It's still going for it,
Yeah. So it's gone really well.
Yeah, well they're like the two. I think Bobo explained it on their podcast I did with them. Like it was like a marriage really of like two. If you think of if I think of like Hamilton and you think iconic brands, then like Raglan Roast stands out, and so does Good George. So it's like for me it was like my two perfect things. Like I love coffee and I love beer, and I really enjoy your guys' beer and I love their coffee. And when they said they were doing one together, I was just like, oh, and I thought stout straight away. I was like, oh, it'll be. And I was like, oh yeah, but I'd try that. I'm not a stout drinker, but I'd be like, oh yeah, I'll try that because it's with Raglan Roast. And then he said, nah, it's an IPA. I was like, what? How does that work? And I remember I went in there and they gave me a squiller and it was cold in the fridge. And he said, I'll keep it real cold and I was going to do a podcast with Ben Townley, professional motocross rider. Took it over and I put it in my chili bin, filled it up with ice, and it was real cold. Got it and then cracked it in the drink. I was like, oh my god, that's amazing! Like just instantly, I was hooked. Yeah.
Sessionable, eh? That's
Yeah.
one thing
Yeah.
Brian's genius at, is that getting that balance on beer, you know.
Yeah.
So and making things sessionable, so it's not just about having one beer job done. Should always be able to have a few of them kind of style, eh?
Yeah.
And we'll take it to the next level with the espresso martini. That's rag and roast again. So and that is 30% cold brew in that.
Oh,
so
okay.
It's cold brew coffee.
Yep.
And that's what gives it the magic. It just gives it that beautiful aromatic and then that flavour coming through as well.
Yeah.
So even that we're struggling to keep up in as well.
Yeah. That just goes. That's gone nuts, eh?
Yeah.
That espresso martini.
Yeah.
Have you tried it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think Daryl got sick of me texting him for another bottle of it.
Yeah.
I like my Monday night text from Swings.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Look at what I'm drinking.
Yeah.
But that's rag and roast is best. That is.
Yeah.
Because it shines through in that coffee. It's the same coffee
Yep.
we use for the
Is it the
IPA.
same
Yeah.
same as in the beer?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so good. Yeah, that it was funny because the espresso martini we had a PTA like quiz night out at the kids' school, and then people come around and I was like, oh, I just want espresso martini. They thought I was making them, but I was just put in the shaker, shake it, pour it out, and then they were talking about it the other night. They're like, oh man, Dwayne's really good at making cocktails. To my wife, she's like, what? And he's like, yeah, he was making those espresso martinis. They're like the best I've ever had. She was like, he's not making those, he's just putting them in the shaker, shaking it and pouring it out.
You're adding something to them. You're adding ice in your shake.
Yeah. Oh,
yeah.
it's just it was so
Well,
good.
same, just pour it out of the bottle. Put them in the same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Add a little bit to it. Eh? And then, like the gin as well. How did the gin come about? Were you always sort of planning to go down the spirit
no,
side of
we
it?
weren't.
No?
This
We
is
were
like
just
lunch,
like,
isn't it?
Jason and Brian like shiny things.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So they disappear and they come back, and then all of a sudden we've got a still.
Yeah,
Oh.
well, we were in Germany and we sent Daryl a photo where we just put a sold sticker on a still
Yeah.
just to see what Daryl would say
And
because it's a beautiful still.
And he didn't reply, so
No,
I thought
no.
that's thumbs up.
Yeah, we thought, okay, great, we can buy one
No
now.
news is good news.
Yeah.
You're on.
Yeah. So as we came back and we thought, well, the next level, I guess, and what we're doing is being able to make spirits. So we. Just I went over to Victoria and visited a small boutique gin maker over there, and we thought, man, this is fantastic.
Yeah.
Let's get into this.
Yeah.
And so we came back and bought the same still that they had. It's only a little 380 litre still, and then we just for the first pretty much year mucked around making gin for people around here locally. We didn't sell too much. That took us a while to get it right, but we also were very fortunate. So because I've set up a lot of breweries, I had a guy ring me and wanted me to consult him to set up a brewery. And he rang me, emailed me a week later and said, oh, listen, you mentioned you had a still. Just to let you know, my best mate is actually a distiller at Cardrona. And he would love to come and help you get your still going. And we were like, oh, there is such thing as karma. Because I literally on the phone for 45 minutes with this guy, telling him what he needed to do to set up a brewery and how much power and water and all everything. And then I put the phone down and thought, okay, cool, there you go. 45 minutes of my life. Next thing, get an email from a guy, says, love to come and help you. So the guy, Kit Clinton Baker, came up from... for a week, didn't cost us anything. We looked after him as much as we could, but he was like, man, I just want to come and help you guys get going. And he helped us to develop all of our products. So not only our gin, but our whiskey as well. And really, he was brilliant. Excellent. Good, keen engineering background, good, keen young man. And one of his friends lives here in Hamilton, so we stayed with her and come and lived lived most of the days in the brewery, and we spent a lot of time together just getting that whole still going. So yeah. And we were very specific what we wanted to do. We wanted to make a gin that had quite, as I said before, quite specific flavours and aromas that you could actually made it stand out from the rest.
Mm.
Rather than just being a generic gin, he needed to have a couple of hooks in it. So that's where the Star Anise came from in Mandarin.
Yeah, because
nice too, eh? Did a great job, eh?
Yeah, seems to go pretty well. Yeah, I enjoy drinking it.
Yeah. Well, like gin, I always thought of gin like, well, even 3, 4, probably long about 5, 6 years ago. It's just like an old person's drink. But it's just amazing how much it's taken off in the last 5 years.
But isn't it great? It's just like craft beer.
Yeah.
So there's all of these, boutique gin distilleries adding all kinds of weird and wonderful shit like Kawakawa and Horapito, and they're doing native botanicals. They're doing botanicals from all over the world. And so the real skill and distillers to balance those, but you can do it and create these cool flavors just like craft beer.
Yeah.
Really. It's great.
Yeah, well, I was telling you, Daryl, when I played for the Barbarians over in the UK, like I'd never drunk gin before, and a few of the Aussie boys were like, big gin drinkers, and I was like, what are we drinking gin for? And then we stayed in this hotel, and they had a gin bar downstairs in this hotel, and I went in there, it changed my life. I was like, I couldn't get over like the different types of gin, and like we're drinking gin with chilies in it and all sorts, and it was beautiful. And it's like we would go, the bars isn't really, there's not a lot of training that goes on, it's more drinking. But I remember we'd go to training, we'd come back and we'd walk in, still be sweaty in our training gear, barely sweaty, we're probably just sweating out all the alcohol from the night before. But we'd walk in and the boys would be like, do you want to have gin? It's like, we probably shouldn't. It's like 11, they'd be like, oh well, who cares? We'd bowl in there in our training gear and sit down and have 3 or 4 gins before lunch. Yeah.
Before lunch?
Yeah, we'd train at 9, we're back by 11, and then
Yeah, right.
I thought you were the other 11.
Nah, 11 in the morning.
Oh, we always do when we're judging beer. I judge lots of different places. Every time we finish, we go back to wherever we're staying, straight gin. Just refreshes. It's just so yum. And when you're sick of it, you've had 80 beers in the day. You're quite happy to drink gin, and then you go out and drink red wine.
Yeah.
Because it's just, that's what you do.
Yeah.
So, but gin just cleanses your palate and makes you feel really good, picks you up to be able to go out and enjoy the social aspect of judging beer.
Yeah, we're really excited about the gin. It's a whole new part of our business, and new conversations and ideas and whole thinking. It's really good. We actually sent one of our first bottles over to London, which is like obviously home of gin, bronze medal in the London something
Spirits Awards, World Spirits Awards.
Yeah.
Won a bronze medal. Yeah.
Nice.
And then won a silver medal in New Zealand Spirits Awards. So we're
not bad for a bunch of amateurs.
Where did the name come from? Day Off.
When we first bought the still, obviously we bought it to make gin and make spirits, but COVID coming along, we had to turn it into making hand sanitizer. So we're making hand sanitizer 24/7, 7 days a week kind of style, and it was just like, we need a break, man. This is
hard work.
So we came up with the concept, we're going to give our still a day off and make gin, because that's what the bloody thing is there for, right?
Yeah.
So that's what we did. We did one day, made 200 bottles of gin and called it Day Off Gin.
Yeah.
And I think it sold out in like 3 hours or 4 hours or something like that. When you
True.
put it online, boom, gone. Just like,
that worked.
So that worked. Yeah. So it was so that's where the name came from. So it's not have a day off gin, but you can associate it whatever you like. But that's where the name is. Yeah, that's the name is from. Yeah.
That's cool. That's a cool story.
We've got another one coming up. Hey, let's talk about that.
Keep everyone
intrigued. Yeah, no, we're really excited about it. And gin as a category is just going for it. Like it's bigger than vodka now in New Zealand.
Yeah.
It's the fastest growing category. And it makes up, in our outlets, spirit-wise, makes up 30-35% of the spirit turnover in our businesses. So it's an exciting part.
Really it's cool, eh?
Yeah, it's great.
You want to talk about this?
Oh, yeah, this is, you talk about the whiskey?
Yeah.
Oh, right. But also, as Jay's saying, so we same time we bought the still, we thought, well, let's play around making whiskey. And Kit was really good at it. So we actually, because we've got a brewery here, of course, we can make the wash, which is the malted barley wash, which is what you make whiskey out of. So we made whiskey right through most of last year, and this is when COVID came along. We had all this whiskey sitting in tanks and in barrels that we just we needed alcohol to make hand sanitizer.
Mm.
So we actually had to distill our whiskey from whiskey that we diluted down to 63% into barrels back up to 85%, which is what we needed to make hand sanitizer. So
It's probably the world's most expensive hand sanitizer.
Yeah.
And it smelled amazing.
Oh,
on my
amazing.
hands,
Yeah, it did
It's like
smell real
barrel
nice.
aged,
Yeah.
yeah, so yeah, because we've got a chocolate, so we use a bit of chocolate malt in there, which gives it that little bit of specialness about it. So the chocolate malt comes through. But what we do also do is we've got these virgin French oak barrels, which are heavily charred, heavily toasted like activated carbon. Activated carbon absorbs stuff. It absorbs all of those hot alcohol characters, makes it nice and smooth, and then we've got it into bourbon barrels. So it's aged in bourbon barrels for 2 years. So this stuff here is only it's 18 months old now. So that's just under barrel strength. So that's about 45% alcohol. But what you'll notice, hopefully you should notice, is it's just not hot. It's just got some nice honey and chocolate notes coming through in the aroma, and it's nice and smooth.
Yeah, it doesn't have that
Yeah.
that like bite as much.
No. So
What's the colour difference here? Is they the same barrel?
same barrel,
Oh,
different size glass, different
It's
shape
just
glass.
the glass.
Yeah.
Yeah, different shape glass. So when it goes into that barrel, it's white. So it picks up the colour from.
Is that from the barrel?
Yeah, it's from the barrel. It's
Yeah.
from the oak, French oak.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
And then it also picks up from the bourbon barrel as well. So it soaks up a bit of that bourbon and comes through out of it. So
That's good. It's amazing,
Mm.
yeah, so that's going to be released sometime next year.
Yep.
Yeah. So then we'll start, and then there'll be a gap,
Yeah.
of course,
Yeah.
which is the great lockdown of 2020 when we were turning it into a hand sanitizer, and then we'll start to get it to reinvigorate the
Oh
product.
yeah, so that was 18 months ago. That there
18
was.
months ago, yeah.
Oh yeah, so you've got to be
it's a-
quite forward thinking.
Oh,
in terms
you've
of,
got to, it's quite a capital intensive thing because you've got to have all of these barrels sitting around. Those French oak barrels aren't cheap, so
Yeah.
you've got to put it into there, and then you've got to put it into another barrel as well. Otherwise, it gets too oaky. So
okay.
just that real balance of doing it.
Yeah.
And then you'll just sit there for 2 years, minimum of 2 years.
Yeah.
So you imagine you start making whiskies which are 8, 9, 10. You need a lot of space and a lot of capital to be able to.
Yeah,
terrible.
that's a hell of a lot of outlay. Yeah.
Terrible
Yeah,
business
yeah.
model.
yeah.
Well, it's like it's.
And then you can
it's
still
hard.
buy 10-year-old pretty good whiskey for $100 a bottle,
Yeah,
which is
yeah.
like, how do they even do it for that price?
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
when you think about having to store something for 10 years
Yeah.
and then you
Yeah.
go and buy a bottle of it and it's $100, like
What do you think? Probably of that bottle, maybe $25 of its tax as well.
yeah,
GST and excise.
yeah,
Excise on GST.
yeah.
So yeah, it's
Gin's way more fun because you make it and sell it the next day.
that's right.
Yeah, is
Yeah,
that how
yeah,
quick
yeah.
it is?
Oh,
Like,
a little bit, not quite that quick, but
yeah,
comparatively.
Couple of days.
it's-
You need a couple of days for the flavours, and then you put it in the bottle, and it sort of goes through a little bit of bottle shock, and it sort of it really comes together and balances out as a product. But yeah, 2 or 3 days you're good.
Mm.
So our still's now working 4 days a week, making 200 to 250 bottles of gin a day, flat out, as fast as we can go.
we're gonna do a podcast on that too. Have you found out?
Oh, no.
Oh, what the gin.
Daryl sold your time out. He said, "Yeah, come in and make some gin."
Oh, okay.
Brian.
Oh, it's
we'll
good
do a
fun.
podcast
It
on
is good fun. You know what?
It's so
Yeah.
interesting, eh?
Yeah.
You'll learn so much about it.
Yeah.
Next time you're talking to the boys about gin, you're just gonna waste
Yeah.
the money.
Yeah.
Be like, well, actually,
Yeah.
I've got this, boys.
And we literally shove in there a shit ton of mandarins.
Like,
Yeah.
it's-
Yeah.
We were pulling the mandarins off our trees
Of
from
Jason's
home.
tree.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
All quite amazing, eh?
Yeah. So and then
Do you put them in whole? Like,
Yeah.
yeah,
Juice and all.
just no?
Just
Yeah.
a big basket and jam whatever you like
Yeah,
into
so
it.
the
and just
vapour-
infuses into
The
it.
Yeah.
vapour comes up, so you infuse the spirit overnight with juniper berries and coriander and angelica root, and then you basically distill that, and then that vapour picks up straight through all of that mandarin and takes it into and then you obviously condense it down back into a liquid.
Yeah.
And so it's got we kept it really simple. So it's just mandarins, cardamom, which is quite citrus as well. The coriander comes through as citrus as well, so it's quite citrusy. And then star anise.
Yep.
at the end. It's which gives it that lick of
Aniseedy
licorice just at the end.
Yeah.
So not dominant, but again just that flick as it goes past.
Just like the coffee IPA, just that little that little hint.
Yeah, so it's
that's exciting, eh?
yeah, it goes pretty well.
We've done a Feijoa gin as well.
I've got some of that at home.
And it's got kaffir lime leaves in it too.
Oh,
Feijoa gin, which without the Feijoas in there, it's still brilliant gin. Just the Feijoas over the top.
Sure, no, that's got kaffir limes in it.
Yeah.
The leaves in it.
Yeah, the leaves. Yeah, that's really
Lovely.
nice. Yeah. So it's a bit of fun. Then we've got a little wee one.
Yeah.
Does a litre at a time or half a litre at a time. So we just do lots of little trials.
Yeah.
When we're doing that too, so we can add all kinds of weird, wonderful stuff.
Nice.
Doing stuff down with grapefruit and with lemon, and just looking at what we can get into the gin and looking at different ideas. Really.
Yeah.
We haven't even really started on the ideas on gin, have we? We're just kind of we're just starting.
Yeah. There's so much to it. It's got such a big market. It's such an exciting product, It's really, and it's so interesting, It's like so interesting to make and what you can do with the bugger.
One of the biggest one.
When we do our tours, it's one of the sort of highlights for people. Brewery, and then this shiny still and
what's this?
Yeah, exactly. Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
So it's great.
Yeah. So that do you want to talk about that, like the tours that you do here with the brewery?
Yeah, we do. People can book in and we take groups. We take groups through and people they'll notice when they come and visit us. It's kind of a bit of a Frankenstein brewery. We kind of started in a little space and then we've added on and upset another neighbour. They move out. We go into that building. And when we first come, everyone's like, "Oh, it's exciting! There's a brewery opening next door. It's going to be fantastic." And then the trucks start pulling up and the smell of malts and things in the first thing in the morning loses its appeal. But so we're across the laneway and about 4 different buildings and things now. But so that's cool. People can sort of chart the journey of growth.
Yeah.
And along the way they can visit the chiller because we don't obviously pasteurise our beer, so we keep it as cold as we can for quality reasons, so people can tour through probably the biggest beer chiller in Hamilton and see the still and our lab where we do all our quality controls and tests and bits and pieces in the warehouse, and the brewery obviously and packaging itself. So people can book in and do that and get a bite to eat at the end and a beer, and there's in the room we're in at the moment doing this.
You can actually up and pour a beer.
Yeah.
It's amazing how not many people actually pour a beer for themselves out of a proper beer tap.
Yeah.
I've never done this before.
Feels moldy, we haven't done it before.
Yeah. And they'll always turn on a little bit and it just comes all fun. Every time.
Yeah. So no, it's good. It's something we're always trying to improve on, do a better job with our tours, but it's been hard because as soon as we got it dialed in, we'll change a space or add something in and what have you. But it's good. We love talking about our business and that's craft where you tell your story one person at a time. It's not like you jump on TV and do an ad and everyone knows what it's all about. You get people in and they visit, they become lifetime ambassadors because they know and they've got that connection and they see it for themselves firsthand. So it's always neat when we can do that.
Yeah. So who runs the tours? Like, do you have certain people within the business that's their domain?
The dining hall, which is the brewery, pub and restaurant, they do it. There's always 2 or 3 on their team that are skilled up and know all the ins and outs and probably do a better tour than most of us. Brian gets bogged down and too passionate and
3 hours later
my tours take ages.
3 hours later you're still on the coffee IPA.
Yeah. Food there's going cold. Dining hall staff are grumpy at me.
So they do it and they enjoy it as well. It's just an extension of good hospitality, right?
Yeah.
And it's a good way to pull people into the dining hall, and I mean they usually finish the tour and have a beer, and then it might turn into a meal, and they can take home some squealers and some gin and what have you for themselves. It's good.
we do a bit of work with the Hobbiton guys. Obviously, we're pretty rubbish at doing tours, to be fair. But that's part of the charm of it, I think, in some respects. But we do work with the Hobbiton guys, supplying their beer and cider and ginger beer out there, and they're experts of the whole tour thing. So that sort of gave us a sort of lead into getting involved in that. But it's been a wicked relationship with those guys. They've been great for our business, really supportive and big part of our business too, sort of through the years. So it's been great relationship, real strong. Again, that networking local thing. So,
yeah, it's pretty cool that such a big movie like that is
amazing.
based here.
There,
Like Hobbiton's based just between Morrinsville and Matamata. Matamata laid claim to it, but I think it's in the Morrinsville boundary. But Morrinsville a bit slow on the uptake. Yeah.
They're they're obviously hurting at the moment, and we feel their pain, and it's we just want to see them back busy again, and because we know the people behind the scenes firsthand. We know they're just like any other business, and they're trying to give it a go, and no one knew where the chips would fall over COVID, right? No one was quite knew where their job or their business was going to end up, and there's certainly been ones that have been harder hit, and they're amongst it. So, and there's just real people out there, and they're passionate. They teach us a few things or two about being engaged with your business, and they just love. Some of those guides think that, the hobbits live there at night. They're into it, and they promote our partnership with them as well. They've been bloody good.
Yeah,
they've been really well supported too by locals. Domestic markets really getting in there and giving a good go. So they're actually going really well. How's that? All right.
First time I tried it.
what do we got there?
This is
Cider.
a Changemaker.
Oh yeah.
So what's that, Brian? What's the Changemaker?
Yeah.
Oh, it's a well, actually, it's quite good.
I hope so.
Well, they wanted something that was a bit more not like our cider. They wanted something a bit more Granny Smith like.
Oh yeah.
So we changed our stuff, and it's quite good on you. Granny Smith has that acidity on your back of your teeth, really. So that's what's coming through, but also a nice sweetness. But Changemaker intellectually handicapped based, owned by the IHC, a business which they've basically 4 individuals set up this business to be able to get themselves a job, basically.
Yep.
So they don't want to rely on the government anymore. They just want to get themselves a job. So they've started this brand called Changemaker, and so they came to us and said, listen, we want to, would you make some product for us? So we said, yeah, great, let's do a non-alcoholic ginger beer and they wanted a Granny Smith apple cider. So this is the first. They've done collaborations with other breweries, so this is the first time they've done something with us. So it's great to see, and I think these both products get launched down at Biavana in Wellington. So yeah.
So they sell them, and then they keep the profits.
Yep.
The 4 of them. So they're like running a sort of mini business. So there's a real, it's real cool to be involved with.
Yeah.
A project like that, to be able to brew and something for them. It's just really quite special.
Yeah, because I think Bobo was mentioning something about he was pretty keen to get involved with the coffee.
He mentioned it the other night when we had the launch out there.
Yeah.
So he said, look, listen, I've been thinking about this.
Yeah.
I want to get involved. I'm keen to help, and because I said to them, if they can, because his brother Pete makes the machines.
Yeah, yeah.
And he said, well, what, we could basically make them a machine, and they can punch out 4 kilos of coffee every 10 minutes, so you can do hundreds of kilos of coffee. And he said, wouldn't it be great to enable them to be able to have a coffee brand behind them as well, which these people could sell. So so I'm catching up with them down in Wellington, and I think then the IHC board is coming up to see us in the next couple of weeks.
Yep.
Just talk to us about their business and the sustainability of it, and how those individuals can make enough money to be able to live off it.
Yeah, to make it work.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that event on Thursday was pretty I was lucky enough to be there for it, but I suppose the release party of the Raglan Roast Good George coffee IPA, and then the espresso martini as well, that was a pretty cool event. I suppose go along there, it's there's some interesting characters that come out of Raglan. But that was, I don't know. Like, I really enjoyed it. I took along Ben Brown, so one of the guests of the podcast, and he loved it, eh? Like, he was... They're
great musicians too, eh?
Oh, yeah.
Local Raglan musicians.
Yeah,
really
so
good.
Reiki, the little multi-board with the dreads, the first one that went up, funny story, so 2 years ago when we won for Waikato, won the championship of the Mitre 10 Cup, we were drinking on Sunday, and we were like, Quinn's like, I've got my mate from Raglan, like, he'll come play some music if we buy him beers. I was like, yeah, sweet, get him along. So yeah, Reiki turns up. He knew 4 songs, and that was it. He played 4 songs on repeat. But we were drunk enough that by the time it came around, they gave me, good song. Like, but it's amazing to see how much he's grown.
He was really good.
Yeah, like he's really, really good. So it was there's some pretty talented people, out in Raglan there. Like, it's a small town, but
I was talking to Tony while he was on, and Tony was saying, look, wait till the next guy comes on. He's even better.
Yeah.
So he's pretty passionate about supporting local musicians too.
Raglan just has that. It just has that magnetism for creatives and people who have a pretty cool view on life and lifestyle and how they want to be and live, and they're just really kind of at peace with what they're all about.
Yeah.
And that collab's been fantastic. We've met quite a few good people through it, and always when we do collaborations with local companies, you always learn stuff. You churn out a product and usually they go good and it's all good, but behind the scenes you're always picking up new ways of doing things or opinions and ideas and it's a good outcome, a good byproduct of it.
Yeah. Well, that's what I've noticed too of doing the podcast. Who would have thought that I'd be able to sit and have a conversation with the 3 directors of Good George and Raglan Roast and be able to, I guess in a way, for you guys to be able to share with me and then with the listeners, like how this all works. Like, it's I'm pretty humbled by the fact that I can, and it's just amazing what you can pick up and what you can learn from conversation. It's cool. I enjoy it.
Most people are really keen to share, under the right circumstance and context, and be open. Like, we've always been really open about our balls ups and failures and all that sort of jazz. That's how we learn, So it's good to rub up against other people doing good things in the community, and you learn and get on with it. It's bloody good. Yeah,
well, it's a sign of strength too if you can own up to your failures. Like I've seen plenty. I've played with plenty of guys that can't, and then but all the best can, they openly admit, like, I got that wrong. Like, oh well, move on. What's the next task? And
Yeah, see, this is actually an intervention for you, Brian.
Move on.
Yeah.
No, I think podcasts are good like that too, aren't they? Because they now, like, we get frustrated trying to get our message out there. I mean, you do some cool stuff where you think it's cool because it's, like the WaterBoy, Be Good, Do Good charity thing. It's actually quite hard to get cut through and share that message in like mainstream media because that's not.
Yeah, we don't have long enough, do you?
No, you don't have long
enough.
30-second
ad. It's not.
And usually the when something's going wrong, right? It's much easier to get the media coverage, but a chance to sit down and have a chat, sort of more our style, I think, and enjoyed the other podcasts, that you've done. It's been quite informative.
Yeah, the Red Last one was good.
Yeah.
I like Brad Webber's his enthusiasm for piss drinking, really. So he'd be a good ambassador after rugby. We've got a job, I think. For him.
He'd be a great ambassador. Yeah. What was it? Piss up, front up.
Yeah.
Fletcher Smith as well. He mentioned that too. But it is like, for me, I suppose like rugby has this bad stigma in terms of. I remember the Chiefs are kind of all through the era that I played when Dave Rennie and Wayne Smith and that took over. They're like, we're going to get rid of the piss drinking culture that the Chiefs have and the rest of it. And I came back and played in 2014 under their watch. We drank more piss then than I did when I was playing, but we just did it in secret because
Yeah.
we were told we weren't allowed to. And I was just like, and they would constantly talk about it. We're not the Chiefs team of old. And I was sitting there thinking, like, I'm drinking more now than I used to. Like, you just don't know about it because it had all kind of gone underground. And it's like, life's about balance, and rugby's a high pressure environment. Like, and I think a lot of people that aren't in that environment don't quite get that or don't quite understand that. And I've been very fortunate. Like, my wife Marie, she's awesome around that fact that she knows how much pressure and how much stress comes with it. She's been there for, I suppose the last 10 years of my career, 11 years, and she knows that there's a place to be able to just go and relax and have a beer, and she's always allowed that, and it makes our relationship better for it, but it also makes my performance better for it because I don't stew on things. I go out, have a few beers, we rant, we talk about shit training, we talk about a shit coach's direction of whatever he's want to go in, but we get it off our chest, we talk about it, and then we move on, and then we come into Monday and we almost restart and kick again. But for me, everything's about balance, and you got to be balanced. Like, obviously professional athletes can't drink every day of the week, even though some of us like to, and when the season finishes we generally do for about a week, but it's all kind of part of it, and it's not everyone drinks either. So I'm not saying that all rugby players drink, but it is like, it's an important part of, I suppose, rugby culture, without saying it's a must do, but it's a great way for us to be able to relax and enjoy. You always talk a bit more shit when you have a few beers, and just your cares go out the window, which is real good for.
That's what beers can do, and that's create those moments, those occasions when those sort of things can happen. It's not necessarily just about the beer; it's about that occasion, So that's what we try and drive our brand around. It's like, it's not about the beer; it's about what the occasions it creates, the lifestyle it creates, and the cool as conversations. It's about better life moments.
Yeah.
So it's a key part of it.
Yeah.
Imagine rugby without beer, though.
Oh no.
No? Terrible.
But it creates moments like the Melbourne Cup at Iguana,
Yeah.
CBD.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are very, not vivid memories, but memories for me. It was just a cool occasion, and you remember those things and I suppose the people that you're with as well.
Well, Hospo too is like, some of our memories, our best ones are after we've had the Melbourne Cup. You've gone home and someone's put you in a taxi.
No, it was Richard Cowie. You were sweet, bro.
Yeah.
And then we've cleaned up, put the chairs up, and then we have our own party or get together or moments, just a beer at the end of the night or whatever it is. And that's those staffy moments in Hospo over the years. We've got some memories. On a Sunday morning when they're delivering the Sunday Star Times, and you're just moving through second gear into third. But you're right, it's about balance, because we're not, we're heaps younger then too.
Yeah.
Even though we're all young now, maybe. It's about, Hospo sort of, it's spat out some people the other end. It's not, you've got to have that balance, otherwise, man, you are 7 days a week if you want it, and then throw a brewery on top of that. You've got to have it within yourself that to know when she's busy day tomorrow, busy week, we've got this priority, we're doing this, we're doing that, and also that family thing is bloody important because we've all made that transition through, and kids and obligations that are important for the kids and things like that, and you've got to front and be a part of it all. So just getting that balance right.
We want to be examples of how to do it right, marriages, kids, lifestyle, getting away and doing things, going fishing, going hunting, doing all that sort of stuff, being fit, all that sort of jazz. It's a key part of, if you try to just be successful just in your business part and you forget about the rest of the important things in the world, that's not real success, and it's certainly not long-term stuff. So, as business owners, we try and live it, talk it, walk it, encourage the rest of the team, senior managers to, working 7 days a week is not the answer.
Yeah.
You know, get out there, go and shoot a deer or something.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, well, all the best captains or leaders that I've played with or under, like it's exactly that too. They're there with you in the trenches when things get hard and things are difficult, but then they'll be there to have a beer and relax as well. They won't fully, like they're there through all aspects of it, through the shit, through the good times, through the bad, through the celebrations, through the drowning your sorrows or whatever it is. Like they're there, they're constant. Those kind of leaders, they're like a magnet. You just like, oh yeah, like, oh, you tell me to run through a wall, I'll do it. Because you're like, oh, and if they put you in your place, you're like, yep, okay, fair enough, because you have that so much more respect for them because you're not disconnected from who they are or what they're doing.
It's actually the reason I left Lion years ago, because I remember working as I was in sales and doing some warehouse stuff and telemarketing and all sorts of different things and some marketing bits and pieces. And I really enjoyed the time in that company. The people were great, but I could look and see the steps, the career steps I could take right up to the MD sort of style, and I was like, okay, I could do that in 5 years, that in 10 years, and I was like, I actually don't want to live that like that lifestyle.
Oh yeah.
So that was part of the reason for getting out and getting amongst it ourselves. And so when we've got young dudes coming through and working, we want to be examples of the full picture. The all the bits and pieces, lifestyle, the good friends, the good people, the good family, the whole part. That's such a key part of it, and I think it emulates through into the brand, what the brand stands for as well.
Yeah.
But you've got to consciously almost decide to have fun, eh?
Yeah, you do.
You get
so
bogged
we
down.
can just get bogged down and work.
Especially the last
Yeah.
6 months,
Yeah. No,
Yeah,
you
it's,
actually have to do it. Yeah, you're right.
Oh, we came into the office or somewhere about a month ago, and Brian had all these pictures of some cool shit that we'd done
That's right.
Yeah.
over the last 8 years, and he was like, "Guys, we need to
Do more of this.
do more of this. Remember this?"
Brian's got fun police, eh?
Yeah. And we're like, yeah, and then you're like,
Oh, you know what? Well, what have we done? Nothing.
Oh, we've done some cool stuff though. Far out.
Oh, over the years we have done some great stuff. Yeah.
This room, the room that we're sitting in, this is actually based off a place called Huka Lodge. There's a room at Huka Lodge upstairs where you can rent out.
Yeah.
Or we were staying there for the night, all the directors and senior managers and their partners and bits and pieces. And
we weren't paying, by the way.
Oh, nice.
We weren't paying, no.
Otherwise, we wouldn't be at Huka Lodge. We'd be at it might be at the top pub in Morrinsville or something.
Yeah, nice.
But, good Morrinsville reference there.
Yeah.
I felt like I was paying for the next day though. But anyway, we're in this room, and we had chefs and grain versus grape dinner and stuff. And Brian was like, this and that, and it all got a little bit out of hand. And there's some really expensive paintings and stuff at a Huka Lodge. You got to watch out for. Anyway, long story short, we won't be going back there in a hurry.
Oh, okay.
Daryl had his name's mud there, man.
So you made your own one instead?
Yeah.
So this is based on
I think we never afford to go back either. Yeah.
Well, it's shut down now. Not
Is
because
it?
of us.
Is that?
Yeah, it doesn't operate anymore, I don't think.
Right.
No, it's private.
Yeah, but we have been fortunate over the years to have some pretty good times, and certainly not. We got invited to New York a couple of years ago to a beer festival, and so the company was going to pay for one or two of us. Well, obviously the third person said, "Well, fuck, you guys are going. I'm coming with you."
Yeah.
So the three of us went over there. We had a pretty good time, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was about our kiwi fruit sour, which is a beer we had at the time, and we exhibited in New York, and it won the show for how many 10,000-15,000 people at this beer festival, and we had queues all day.
Yeah.
Americans they don't mind queuing. Kiwis would go, oh no, too queue till I go somewhere else.
Yeah.
They just queued all day.
It was a bit embarrassing actually, because there's like some pretty big hardcore brewers either side of us, they were like twiddling their thumbs. There was like this massive queue down the middle. It's like, Jesus.
Yeah.
That must be a pretty cool buzz though.
It was incredible.
It was
Quite
amazing.
surreal,
It was amazing. Well, I was walking along. What are you queuing for? Well, we've heard this beer's really good. Okay. The queue's like 40, 50 metres long.
Yeah.
It was take them ages to get it.
Yeah.
You've got a limited time to drink beer.
Yeah.
Why would you send most of it in a queue? We just didn't, for us as Kiwis, we were just like, man, there's plenty of
just
other
find
beers
the
here.
short of the
Just
line.
go get some. There's no one in that queue over there. Go over there. But they were just happy to queue.
Yeah.
I think they were like genuinely excited. There were some real Kiwis like there,
Yeah.
like with accents and like like this is real Kiwi, Kiwi fruit flavoured beer, and there's some Kiwis and there's, but we were into it. You know, it's exciting to be a part. That's why part of the reason why you do it.
Yeah.
For those little moments.
You got to celebrate those moments. I enjoy them.
Yeah.
And we do need, between the three of us, particularly Brian, will remind us,
Got to celebrate.
what have we done?
Celebrate the wins.
Yeah. I've had some cool times.
Because you have many shit days. When you have a good day, you got to celebrate.
It makes the shit days a bit easier to laugh about, like today.
Too early, too soon.
Too soon?
Tomorrow maybe.
Too soon.
Tomorrow? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's so true though. It's something in I listened to a podcast this morning actually with a guy, Grayson Hart, and he's got Pure Sports CBD, and he's a Kiwi and he's living overseas, and he was talking about it, the way society's wired. Everything that we do, you're always looking for the next thing to do or the next success, and he spoke about it in his format in terms of his rugby career. Like he was like, everything he wanted to do was wanted to be a professional rugby player. Then he got it, and it's like, yes, like this euphoric moment, like this is awesome. But then it was like, after that it was, okay, now I need to be in the Blues, and then after that it's okay, now I need to be in All Black. But it was constantly like this chase. But he said, in society, same thing. Like you go to high school, everything's about, once you graduate high school, then you go to university, and then you graduate university, it's going to be awesome. But then you go to a job, and then it's like, how do I go to the next job? So he said for him, once he realised that it wasn't the outcome, it was the journey, his whole life changed. So he was like, well, it's not about the next team, it's about enjoying what I've got right now, because he got stuck in a rut. Like he ended up getting let go from the Blues, but he wasn't enjoying rugby anymore because he was focused on what was next, and he was putting too much pressure on himself, and he went through a bit of a rough time, lost his father, and he'd forgotten that moment that he felt when he first had that opportunity, and he was just like, I wanted this for like my whole life. And then I finally got it, and now I've taken it for granted, and it's because I'm looking at what's next instead of enjoying what I'm doing.
There's a concept, it's called, like, you can see it in people, it's like you're either in time or through time, and most people live their lives going through time or just on the way somewhere. And you meet some people sometimes, they're like in time, they're just like connected right now in the moment, and it's such a powerful thing. You can't do it all the time, but so important to enjoy the moment, to make sure that you're just right there, especially with kids, got to know that sort of stuff, eh? So yeah, it's a real skill, skill, eh? Celebrating the moment, typically speaking, we're not that great at celebrating the wins, eh? But we try to keep ourselves honest on it and make sure that we do that. We
celebrated okay on Friday night.
What's that?
We celebrated okay on Friday night.
Yeah, we did. Yeah.
I think COVID probably schooled a few people up on that principle, about being grateful.
Yeah.
But then it's funny, after you come through the other side, how you start to slip in your previous thought patterns. And I think there's you've got to consciously hold on to some of those emotions that were going through your mind. It's like, I wanted that next thing, but really, if I can just hold on to what I've got right now, that would be the most awesome. And being grateful for that. So yeah, it's been an interesting journey. I wouldn't want to that's the positive, but otherwise it's been a challenging time for everybody.
I think the answer is it's quite simple. Everybody should get a sauna, because
here we go.
Swings, I'm a big believer in saunas,
I like this.
Yeah,
I'm interested.
So I've got a sauna at home, and that's my little place, 4 days a week, 45 minutes, if I can ask 45 minutes.
Jesus, really?
45 is maxing that, because you get hot focus on. But you're just thinking, you're just like, sometimes I might have a beer. You like to have beers and saunas. I read in the menu, there's nothing to say you don't have beers.
Yep.
You've got music on, or you're just in total silence.
Or you can listen to my podcast.
Or listen to podcasts. Absolutely, I highly recommend that. So man, sauna's the answer, eh? If you want to feel grateful in the world, get a sauna.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you do the ice baths too? That's a
My swimming pool's been like an ice bath.
Oh, yeah.
So I do a bit of But,
Yeah.
but I've been looking at those, eh?
Yeah.
I look like that sort of stuff, eh?
Yeah.
I did those float tanks, eh? I didn't dig those, eh?
Oh, did you try that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't tried the float
I
tanks.
saw back, eh?
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
quite weird.
Yeah.
And
Tim
they
Bateman's
were
big
doing
on that.
construction next door when I was in the float tank, so every now and then I hear drills and shit.
Yeah.
So
That wouldn't have been that relaxing,
No.
would it?
no.
Nah. Yeah, I don't know, because we did the ice baths after games, but
Yeah.
I remember when we were doing them back in the, when I sort of first started my professional career, they built the stadium down here and they put them in. There was a hot pool and a cold one. And I was like, oh yeah, well, we'll just sort of do it because we were told to do it, and that's what you do when you're a young fella. As I got a bit more experience, I was like, what do we do this for? And it's like, oh, it makes you feel better. And I was like, it just makes me real hot. And then, like, even when I get in the cold one, I'm still like sweating afterwards. So I'm just like, I just in the end binned the hot one and just went in the cold one. And I was like, oh, it kind of felt like it doesn't do anything for me. And they said, oh, well, actually, there's no scientific proof that it helps. So I just stopped doing it. And then they were like, oh, you have to do it. I was like, well, there's no scientific proof, so why should I do it? But then now all of a sudden it's very popular. And people, friends of mine do have cold showers every morning, and they do the breathing techniques and the rest of it, which I get the breathing side of it.
100%,
Yeah, because I'm a terrible breather. My nose is no good.
Yeah.
It's been broken a few too many times, and
Yeah,
my mouldy genes, it's real snotty.
Yeah, I'm not sure on the scientific elements in the sauna. Well, I just know it really, really works for me. That's just a definite thing, eh?
Well, even just that, like in a sauna, you're forced to sit still, aren't you?
Yeah.
So there's got to be power in that,
Yep.
because life is fast and it moves and you're constantly on the go. But when you're forced to sit still, you take a lot of things in and you can process things clearer. You must have some good, clear thoughts in there.
Oh, yeah, really good, eh? Yeah, totally. It's a really nice just time out and stuff. Sometimes my wife sends me there too, by the way. Sauna time, off you go. Yeah. So no, it's pretty good.
Yeah. Do you want to talk about any of the, or can we talk about any of the new products or direction of where things are going without letting the cat out of the bag?
Oh no, I think in general terms we're sort of having a lot of fun, or getting quite excited about trying new things outside of just the traditional beer and cider. So we're building on that, on what we're doing there, but yeah, playing around in that non-alcoholic field as well. We've got a range of tonics that we're working on right now to match with our gin.
Oh, nice. One-stop shop.
Yeah, and when you get into gin, you sort of, that's like a rabbit hole, right? The whole world opens up, and because it's not just the gin, it's the flavour matches and the tonics and what have you. And we've sort of had a look at what's available at the moment, and there's some good stuff out there, but we're just sort of looking for some uniquely New Zealand flavours there. So it's we're probably at 90% of the way there, developing those. So we'll be playing with those, and just a limited release in some venues over summer, and then out to the wider market in the new year. And then
I'll happily try those if you like.
Yep, no, I'll give you a little sneak peek there.
Nice.
And I think that's part of the future direction for us, is just not be tied down or limited to any one sort of particular, be it beer or cider or otherwise. It's building a drinks company that can move quite quickly where we see space in the market, and try new things and experiment, which is sort of a good point where we've got ourselves to at the moment, and we've got the online store cranking, so we can do little runs, and we've got the venues that we own ourselves or supply exclusively, and we can put our little experimental products through those and get that customer feedback before we go out wider.
Yeah.
So
that's a great way to be able to try things, eh? Like having control of venues, to be able to, put it out there and be like, okay, is there going to be a bite to this?
Yeah.
Yeah. like probably the Raglan Roast Coffee IPA is a perfect example of that, isn't it? Like you can sort of test it out, and then all of a sudden it's gone boom, and it's like, okay, this actually works. Yeah.
Yep. Oh, look, you can do anything you want in the lab, or you can market your way to any sort of or focus group, whatever your sort of outcome you want to get, you'll get out of it. But there's nothing like seeing the look on someone's face when they're trying something for the first time, or even going home and telling my wife, oh, we're doing this new flavour, and just her face, it just tells you a million things. If they're excited about it, you think you're sort of onto something in that regard. So the venues we've got obviously got cool teams that work in there, and some of our ideas come from the bartenders that work there, and they give us feedback because they're talking to our customers all the time. This is going well, do more of this, less of that sort of stuff. So it's really great for that immediate feedback, and we just have to, there's lots of moving parts in our business because we're manufacturing from scratch right through, and we do our own marketing, our own sales team across the country, and then we've got venues and the whole bit. So getting them coordinating when we're bringing out new products, sometimes we'll get a angry call from one of the bars. You've got this online, we haven't even got it yet, and someone's too keen, and we've put it out. So we're getting better at trying to get all of that sort of in alignment. But yeah, it's just, I guess, coming out of COVID, we just love the online aspect that you can get stuff out there immediately, and you can get that feedback and see if it sells, and then the next week you're on to the next new thing, and it's the new stuff which really gets people going, and gets people engaged, or bringing back an old favourite like Drop Hop, the Fijo cider we brought back,
White ale.
White ale.
Yeah.
Some guy had his shop front in Frankton, completely sign written, "Good George, bring back the white ale."
Oh yeah,
it's cool.
So we did.
And it's little stuff like that. But I think that's the future. Is being nimble enough to move in different directions really quickly, and who knows what that might be. I mean, you look at the non-alcoholic range that you'll see at your local BP service station. 5 years ago it was all Coke and Fanta. You look at it now,
it's crazy.
It's amazing. It's just followed the direction of what we had with coffee 20 years ago and craft beer 10 years ago, and it's turned. So there's opportunities there for a company like ours that's bottling product and coming out with new flavours and what have you. We're quite excited about that.
At the same token, we are very heavily committed to growing our beer and our cider and our core business, which is what we've been successful on now. So we've got some great beers coming out next year, that we're already in the planning now, and we're thinking, man, this is going to be really good. So we've got that opportunity to be able to continue to do that, because beer's changing really fast as well, beer and cider as well. Lots of new stuff coming out, and you don't, and because everything's immediate now around the world, you can see what's happening, and some of these amazing beers coming out of the US, we can take our beer with them, make them better here in New Zealand, put a real Good George accent on them, which makes them different and unique.
We've invested quite heavily in the last few years too on manufacturing to make sure that we can manufacture these ideas. So we do all our own manufacturing. Like, we've expanded the brewery every year basically, and the last 2 years in particular expanded quite a bit. So we've got capacity under control, and we've got big plans.
So part of the tour, people walk into that shed, right? They've got a shed there, which is no bigger than a garage, not much bigger than a garage. Every single drop of beer and cider goes through that shed. It's either packaged in there, it's filtered in there, it's kegged in there, it's canned in there. Amazing, It's a little wee shed, but there's a lot that happens in that shed. A lot of hours of the day. Especially this time of the year.
It'd be nice to have a bigger shed though.
It would be great to have a bigger shed.
Just
can't quite afford it.
We've got plans for a bigger shed.
We've got plans for a bigger shed.
Well, I didn't realise to the extent of that everything was here. Like, I didn't know that all the bottling was here, the labelling, like the whole lot. When I met with you, Daryl, that first time, and you gave me the tour and we walked through, I had no idea that. I was like, oh no, surely they're too big for it to be here. And then I started walking through, and it's like, oh, that's in there, and that's in there, and there's a lab here, and I was like, whoa, really, it kind of blew me away. I was like, it's amazing what you can achieve and the quality that you can achieve. Like it's not a small site, but it's not a huge site either for how successful the business is.
Yeah, no, we've got some plans for a big new site, so we're just sort of working through those bits and pieces, so it's exciting.
Yeah.
I think that's been part of one of our early things that we agreed on, that we do that ourselves because we can control that quality, and it's obviously what Brian has always been big on, and it's hard expanding and getting everything in alignment, because you might get some bigger tanks but your brew house is still little, so instead of taking one brew to fill a tank, now it takes 3, and same with you buy a new canning line and then 6 months later it can't keep up and you need a bigger canning line, and
it takes a lot of money every time you sell more kegs to up a new bar. Right, more kegs. Okay, right now we need to actually buy some more kegs. Then we need more tanks. Oh, and now we need to keep them cool, so we need more refrigeration. Oh, now we're out of space.
Remember we got that Hobson contract, and they were like, "Yeah, we've given you we didn't even have a brewery."
We didn't have a brewery.
They gave us a contract. They just believed us, and we were pretty straight up. So, promise we'll have a brewery by the time you need it. Anyway, he rang me up. I was out in the back of the farm. He's ringing around. He goes, "Yep, congratulations, you guys have got the contract." I was like, "Really? Oh, wicked, cheers, man." He goes, "Yep. So we need 80 kegs on XYZ. And I was like, yeah, cool, no, we can do that. I hung up, so man, we don't even own 80 kegs. So I think their first delivery was half our kegs and half DB's kegs. With our product in it, just using the kegs. So but it is a capital intensive business, manufacturing. But we got some really good advice. We admire a lot of breweries around the world. And one of the guys from one of the breweries we admire took us through and gave us some advice in the early days. And his advice was control all the parts: manufacturing, sales, logistics, the whole bit. So you'll find most of we do everything, as we just said. Everything we do ourselves. So we can control that. We can if we fuck it up, that's us. That whole part. So most breweries. Contract brewery, they have other people brewing their product for them, so it's something that we've sort of said that that's not our path. It does make it more complicated, a lot more moving parts, a lot more capital intensive, but we think it's the right way to roll it.
Controlling our own destiny.
Well, you're in control of the quality then that goes out, isn't it?
And we get it wrong. We get it wrong from time to time. We'll tip beer down the drain.
Our philosophy in the brewery is, if in doubt, tip it out.
Oh yeah.
So we bring up excise, bring up council. Yeah. Cool. It just doesn't meet our standards. So if in doubt, it doesn't go. So we've been very stringent on that over the years. Because it does a lot more damage to your brand by having one that's not quite right. No, we've never done it.
Yeah.
We've got an internal policy. We will never sell you a shit beer. So if we don't think a beer's not up to speed or a side's not up to speed, we don't sell it.
Yeah.
At that end.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, because I talked before about Grayson Hart with his Pure Sport CBD business that he's got. So he got some venture capitalists were like, these boys are onto something. So they said, yep, we want to get on board. So they met with them, they threw all this money at them, like, yep, this is what we want to do. And then straight away they started talking about the margins. So straight away they went, okay, so how can we save money on this? How can we save money there? Yeah. Oh, can we buy this? Can we make this product here cheaper? Here, and here. And he just went, oh, this is totally not what we want to do. Yeah. So he just said, oh, look, nah, sorry. Like, turned away the money because he was like, this is going to compromise the product that they've built and made. So he's like, I would rather make less money but deliver a good product. Yeah. And be happy in like in himself and be like, yeah, okay, sweet. Like,
yeah, we've looked at external investors to help us grow faster. Because it's an expensive setup, building breweries and bits and pieces. But we're so.
But people put money in, and then they want control for that money.
Yeah, so we're not looking for money so much. We're looking for sort of more of a partnership element to it. But most likely, we're just going to do it ourselves internally because we can. Yep. But who you go into business with defines you a lot, so you want to really protect that part. And that's, we get on. I mean, we each have unique skills in different areas, and some of the skills overlap definitely, which means that we can go fishing from time to time as well, so it's sweet. But
we need to organise a fishing trip.
Oh yeah, I'm going tomorrow.
Hey,
Yeah.
I can't, mate. I'm bloody.
Yeah.
I'm cycling the Queen Charlotte track tomorrow.
Oh,
Yeah, fish are on at the moment.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
I've
they
heard.
are,
I want to go
right?
on the weekend.
Yeah.
But we had that bloody on Friday afternoon. I was like, man, high tide is at 5:30. It's a beautiful afternoon, but we had that bloody awards at Thornton's, so we had to go to that.
I'll be sure to send you a photo.
Yeah,
That's where we do most of our good thinking. It's like, just
yeah.
gonna
We
go-
have a
just gonna
couple
go
of fishing trips a year.
yeah.
Yeah,
think about big ideas. It's like, I'm just going to go and fish on that.
yeah, yeah. We going tomorrow?
Tyra.
Oh, nice.
Nice.
Yeah. Yeah.
Have you got a place in Tyra, Jace?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we spent quite a bit of time. We actually moved there for put kids in school and stuff over there.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, for a period of time. So which we'll do again at some stage. But love Tyra. It's great. Just
Yeah.
jandals and
Yeah.
no one knows you. Kind of wander around. Great.
Yeah.
Catch heaps of fish over there too. Diving's wicked.
Yeah, it's pretty
Yeah.
cool. My parents
Way
got a
better than
bitch at
Waimataa.
Yeah,
Oh.
my parents got a bitch at Whitianga.
Oh,
So
yeah,
I've grown up
yeah,
going
yeah.
to there since about 6, I think.
Yeah,
About
yeah.
30 years now, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we love it up there. And I got a heap of mates that got places in Tyra and Wonga. Are you in Wonga?
Yeah.
Yeah. My brother lives there now.
Oh yeah, that's
Yeah.
growing,
Yeah, pretty cool.
Don't ask Brian. Brian's just missed
No
out on
way.
a place over there.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Should have bought a man. No.
Yeah, no, I'm very happy with Puketaha.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Cool. Is there anything else that we haven't covered?
No, I think I've been amazed, and Brian sat here for a couple of hours. It's the first time he's sat in one
I'm in the moment.
chair. It's good.
Yeah,
It's
Yeah.
good. You're living in time. It's
yeah,
good.
That's right, I am. Eckhart Tolle, reading Eckhart Tolle, The Power of Now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Exactly the same concept. Exactly the
Yeah.
same concept. Yeah, it's pretty good stuff.
Yeah.
Because while it's kind of all a bit bloody ethereal and it's makes sense when you because it's basically lots of other areas of people's lives you're thinking about when you're just focus on what you're doing, and you get so much more out of it.
You see it in people, You see it in people when they can do it properly. It's like
Yeah.
they just
You
seem
see
so...
them at you talk to people at parties. You can just tell they're not interested in what you're going to say. What was that?
I
Just
don't.
me?
Is that when you're talking to me?
Yeah.
Explaining
And
the
they're
whole process
looking
of the
around
beer.
looking for someone better to talk to.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
that's you can just see they're just not focused on anything. You know.
But then you get the other people that are just there
Yeah.
in that
yeah,
conversation.
And
yeah.
you connect with them, and it
Yeah.
is. Yeah, it's exactly as you said.
One person for that actually is Troy Flevel. Like
Oh,
so I'm hopefully going to do a podcast with him this week, catch up with him. He's got a place over in Wonga, so I'm going to shoot over and see him. But I grew up not liking him because he played for the Blues and the rest of it, and I was just like, thought he was a bit of a dickhead in all honesty. And then when I went and played the Pack the Park game down in Invercargill for charity a couple of weeks ago, for Blair Vining, that was like the first dealing I had with him, and he is the master at just being in the moment. Like he could walk into any venue, anywhere, and he will, like I explained it to Ben Brown the other night when we were at Raglan Roast. He was like, because he said, who's coming up on the podcast, Troy Flevel, and he's like, what's he like? He's a bit of a dick, isn't he? I was like, bro, he's the man. Like if he was here, he would have sat down at some point in time with literally everybody there, and he would have a in-depth, focused conversation, whether it be a minute, 5 minutes, but he just gives them that full attention, and he's real charismatic, and he genuinely is interested and cares. Like, yeah, there's something to that, eh? Like, only certain people can be that way.
I think too, people have a perception from the outside looking in of rugby players and professional athletes as they have it in their minds that they're up themselves or whatever they are, and then so they put up that barrier and perhaps don't back themselves to have those conversations, so it's sort of self-fulfilling in some ways.
Yeah.
So that'll be interesting to hear what he's...
Is that
Yeah.
why you become a professional athlete?
Yeah, was one of the...
I don't want to risk that.
that and a whole bunch of reasons, talent. Otherwise, it's alright, I'm at peace with that.
Oh,
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, that's one thing that you hear a lot. Like I heard a lot, like growing up, like so many people. I would hear like kind of through the grapevine, and you would come back to you as like, oh rah rah, says you're an arsehole, like you're arrogant, whatever. I was like, never met that person in my life, never had a conversation with them. I was like, I don't even know who that is, like. But it's just people's perception, and it's like you might be somewhere and I didn't go talk to them. It's like, well, I don't know you. I'm not going to just bowl up. You know, I was extremely insecure when I started playing professional rugby because I was 17 when I started. So I felt like an imposter for probably 6 years of my first 6 years of my career. I didn't feel like I warranted wearing the Waikato jersey. Like I felt I was looking around at these guys I grew up admiring and watching and going to the games, and all of a sudden they're my roommates and I'm training with them full time, and I'm just like, I do not belong here. Like I was so insecure in myself and what I was doing, and yeah, basically that, like felt like an imposter. But then then you hear the feedback that you're an arrogant, you're an asshole, and the rest of it just because you're quiet. I was just like, it was actually as a 17, 18, 19, 20-year-old, you're not emotionally intelligent really at that age either, so you don't know how to deal with it. I was like, then now players are playing younger, so it's like it's a lot of pressure to go on, because I think of what I went through, and no doubt it shaped me in a good way as well, like because it taught me to be resilient and to focus on what I needed to focus on. But it was definitely a hard time. Like at 19 I quit. I stopped going training. I was CEO turned up in my house and we're paying you got to come back to training, and I was just like, oh look, I have the money, I don't care, I don't enjoy it. It was too much, like but it was all the external factors. Like I could play the game and I enjoyed playing the game, but it was just I didn't want to deal with all the other shit that came with it.
Isn't that interesting, Like it's because you're putting a lot of attention onto other people's impressions, whereas I think the ultimate is just being secure in yourself, which is hard to get there, And sometimes it just takes a few knocks and a few get-ups and a few knocks and a few get-ups, and you sort of develop that muscle, But it's a powerful thing, Because what a shame that would have been for you to not gone back.
I know.
It would have been a total waste, right?
Yeah.
So,
we wouldn't be sitting here now.
No.
Yeah, things would have been extremely different.
It's those moments, those key moments, you can pin them in sometimes in your life. You go back and say, that was the moment. Yeah. I remember a couple of my life, actually. It's quite interesting. Shapes you.
Yeah, it was. I vividly remember it. I was just like, no, this is it. Like, I want to be a builder and I want to play club rugby with my mates because I love the game and that's what I want to do. I don't want to deal with all this shit. I'm sick of people saying I'm arrogant. I'm sick of people saying that, oh, he's all shit, he shouldn't be in there. And they're probably right, and they probably had their reasons or whatever it was. But yeah, it was just at that age, you just don't know how to process that. Like I had no idea. I was just lucky that I had good people around me that helped me stay in the fight to stay there. They were just like, they helped me see like, no, you'll get through this and you'll be better for it. And yeah, it was real lucky. Mum and Dad were super supportive, so that helped. But yeah, I remember Gary Dawson, who was the CEO at the time, and Glenn Ross turned up he was the manager. They turned up at Mum and Dad's house because I was living there at the time, and they just said, oh mate, you can't throw this away, this is what you wanted. And I was like, yeah, I want it, but I don't want to deal with all the other shit. And they were like, oh, that's part of it, like you'll get through it. Yeah, and I did, but it was hard.
Yeah.
But it's so hard to trust yourself, Like, that's something that comes with experience. Like, you can't just be like, oh, I'm just sweet as, I'll be alright.
Yeah, no, it's a challenge, I see it in kids, just got to have that courage, Courage is a really important thing with sports and business, with youth. It's about developing resilience and and having self-confidence, but that is a tough one, easy to say, hard to bloody do, but it's such an important part of it,
Yeah. Do you find there's been a shift in that with the younger staff coming here? Like, they're all pretty resilient or not as...
we have these conversations and you hear them all the time about the younger generation being snowflakes and less resilient, and part of that's true because they don't live the same upbringing that we had. They don't have to do as much for themselves. They've got social media, they've got the internet, they've got all this other stuff bombarding them, and they they're different kids because they're living in a different time. But often when I have a manager say, oh, I'm having trouble and I'm having disciplinaries with this one and this one's causing me issues and this one just causing sick all of the time, often it just comes back to that leadership and being, you know, good listening and engaging. Like the younger ones now, they seem to they can get engaged really quick. They don't hold back as much. So there's right at the start they're like right into it, and they can get, like I said before, they get behind causes and you know, we get really good engagement, I find. But then the flip side, maybe there's not the resiliency that's there. But having said all of that, often it can be mum ringing up or dad ringing up the one that's calling in sick on behalf of them. So go figure about that, right? So it's not so much what the kid is going through personally. It may be some stuff in the background, or you know, mum and dad just need to say, well, if you don't want to work tonight, you ring up yourself. Come on. Time to put, you know, if you're going to work and earn an adult's wage, then you behave like one, and all of those sorts of things. But look, it's I say the amount of problems, if we call them so, but the amount of issues we have is no more than we had 15 years ago. They're just different. So we really like the young people that we've got as a part of it, because it keeps us young and they bring new perspectives, and it's interesting to find out what they're up to on their nights off, and what they're drinking or not drinking, or the trends that they're following, and it's all adds to the mix.
It's a real responsibility as well, for us to actually bring out the beast and encourage, you know, not let people fall too far before you catch them and get them back up again.
Yeah, because you don't want to be the ambulance at the bottom of the cliff.
No.
But hospos are great. Like, if you want your kids to learn about people and, you know, develop self-confidence and all those things, hospo can give you that real quick, because you're working with people like yourself, and it's quite a team. You start your shift and you're all there, and you've got your position either on the bar or on the serving a group of tables, and you can develop quite quickly, and people can come out of their shell and what have you. So it's I'd really encourage people to see it, because you don't have to do it for life, right? But a couple of years working in a cafe or a bar or a restaurant, I think that's a real good grounding for young people coming through, and they might move on to other things, or they might turn it into a career. But some of the big people who are CEOs or running their own businesses around town, a lot of them were working with us 20 years ago, pouring pints beside us. And they had that sort of, I'm sure there was lots of other more important things that contributed to their success than pouring pints of beer or chucking people out of the outback in 1997. But they were there, and they were part of a team, right? You learn heaps of shit when you're doing that. Well, good. We threw some life parenting advice in there. That's a nice way.
And
it's good.
The guys brewing beer told me.
But hospos, like, I was talking about this the other day, because Bobo actually mentioned it in his podcast, and I'd spoken to him like a little bit. You know, we talk quite a bit. We're good mates. Whenever I go and have coffee, we have a yarn and chew the fat. And like he mentioned it, I find hospos such an underrated industry in terms of how hard the job is. Like, you can't have a shit day, really, because you're the face of that brand or that company, and you are the brand or the company. Because if people come in, they have a shit experience, they relate that to Good George or to Raglan Roast or to whatever iguana. You know, like if they have if you have a shit day and you're real grumpy and whatever, and you're real short, and then that comes across, they might not ever come back, and they might tell 10 of their friends don't go there that haven't been there, because they're like, oh, rah, whatever. Like that's a hard thing to do, to be able to put, well, it is, you're effectively putting other people first constantly. throughout the day, and you could be having the shittest day ever. And Bobo worded it real well. Like he said, that person could be having like a shit time in their life. You don't know, but they come in and that 1 minute that it takes for you to make a coffee and hand it over, a little bit of chit chat might be the only nice part of their day that they're dealing with, and that's why they're coming there. And like that must be very common right through hospo in terms of bars and restaurants and the rest of it. Like it's a pretty underrated skill.
Yeah, it is. It's a big responsibility for someone to take, and that's what you've got to explain to them. Like they are representing the business, and so it's a real skill to put other people first, and it's a critical skill to learn in life as well. You can't be self-centered when you're working in hospitality.
No.
Or not long term, doesn't work. So no, it's a total skill. Yeah, man.
But it's a great leadership quality too, though. Like I've found, if you can put other people first, then as a leader, that person will follow you. If that makes sense. Like if you can put them first and get to their level and understand their needs and what they want, then when it comes a time where you need them, they'll be there. Yeah, it's
a common. I mean, no, we could sometimes we give you mystery shoppers on our outlets, so like we're so we're not real up front. Here we are. Look at us up here. None of us are quite like that. So we sort of like to lead from sort of behind, push them in this way, and give them a bit of encouragement and need to sort of style. So it's kind of the leadership style.
Yeah.
The best people in hospital too are the ones that get energised by talking to people or being around people. They're the ones, like they might be having a bad day and arrive to work and then they can just get on the stage if you like, and then they can perform and they can make other people's day, and that's where they get their energy from. And other ones that are just gold. And if you can
and sell, you've got to be able to sell. Like the key thing is not just giving someone a nice time, actually making sure that you're actually there to sell as well. It's a key part of it.
Yeah. If you can hold on to those people and develop their leadership, and they can run venues and the whole part, that's the gold right there. Because they inspire others, and they because it's hard to be up for people 24/7. Like even coming to work and you're involved in meetings and different stuff all day. And it takes it out of you. But some people that's where they get their juice from.
When I met with you last Monday, and I said we came in here on the Saturday night with a group of mates from home, like all the boys made the comment like afterwards, like, man, how good was the staff at Good George? So we came for dinner, and I mentioned to you, Darryl, like and I was like, it's like that every time I come in. Like it's this, I don't know whether they. It's obviously consistent because my mates they weren't to know who we were or the rest of it, but there was faces in there that I hadn't seen before, so it's not like they're like, oh yeah, like make sure you make a good impression because Dwayne's working with the brand or whatever. Like it was, and the boys would go up and order drinks, or they're like, man, the stuff here is cool, like they're real friendly, interested, good conversation, and just it was just easy. It was real easy to have a good time.
I think that's part of the craft. I don't know, it's part of the atmosphere of that place. We brew the beer meters away from where people are eating pizza and having a beer, right? And then the team play a role in all of that, but it just sets it up for a nice atmosphere. Everything's pretty friendly, and that's a good thing about the dining hall. On a Friday night you get dudes in there that are in a high-vis vest, or they're just tradies, and they're rubbing shoulders with guys who work in corporate jobs in town or at the council, and in the corner some students, and the other corner some oldies, and it's just sort of a bit of a melting pot. Works like that. Raglan Roast, they do it the same way, It's just easy.
It is. There's I don't know, like there's something to it though. Like I don't know. Well, like for me, I spoke about in terms of with Raglan Roast that I get drawn in there because the whole experience, like the roasting of the coffee, but then also the people, like I really enjoy all the staff that work there as well. They're easy to talk to. It's easy. The hair's exactly the same, but I can't put my finger on exactly what it is, but there's something that draws me into these kind of places and these kind of brands and businesses, and I don't know. I don't know exactly what it is, but I just know how it makes me feel, so I want to go back. No
Yes.
doubt it's a combination of a lot of things, but
Yeah.
Probably is. It's the depth. It's that depth of the brand, or you walk into a clothing shop or a cafe or whatever. It's knowing the backstory. If it's owner operated, it's usually the key compared to walking into something that's a part of a chain, and you don't get that layer of something that's authentic in the background.
yeah. Well, they're not as invested in what's happening, are they? If they're not.
But at the end of the day, it's just about the people. It's about
Yeah.
good people and being led well by the managers in there, and hiring the right people and looking after them well, and that's the key.
Sweet.
Sweet. Right.
Any words of wisdom to finish off, Brian?
Words of wisdom. No, that's
Well, the dollar one was good. I enjoyed that.
Yeah, Jace has been extolling the virtues of the hot sauna. I don't have any of that.
It's just because I'm normally in it right now, so I'm thinking about it.
Yeah.
It's got a woman here though.
Yeah, it is.
Mm.
Yeah.
You can't-
Oh, look, I think that for what I've, for where we've been in this business, what I've really enjoyed is working with the people that are involved in it. It's it was just someone was saying to me the other day, you guys have been really successful, but a lot of it is down to a lot of bloody hard work, and a lot of people don't see that, and there's also a little bit of luck involved. Lucky that these guys aren't actually turd heads. They're actually reasonable people with the same kinds of values and the same kind of view on life as what I have. So it's been therefore we share the same view on where we want to take the business, and then how we want to interact with the staff as well, which is really important. How we act with the staff is the way we would act with lots of different people. So it's it's all part of what we want to do in life. So that's been the real, I think, for me, the success of Good George so far is just the people involved in the business, and starting with these two as well but the people we've got are pretty cool, and I think they see how we operate, and then and obviously and then want to be a bit more working with us and aspire to be hopefully working with us for a lot longer in the future. So it's all about, for me, it's all about the people. That's what's been the most exciting and the most fun part about Good George has been the people.
Yeah, and it's such a common thread in all successful avenues of life, though. It's the quality of people that make things successful, and you can, the three of you are a prime example, and you obviously lead what goes on here, so it's infectious, and it's you employ quality people because that's who the three of you are, so that's what you want, and you're not going to compromise that, because at the end of the day it compromises the business or the product. So yeah, it's pretty cool, and it's like I said earlier, like it's extremely humbling for me to be able to be partnered with you guys through this podcast, and I'm super grateful for you just coming up on 2 hours and 46 minutes of your time that I've been able to sit down and take. And then Daryl, we've had I don't know how many meetings that are probably supposed to go for 5 minutes and go for an hour and a half, and the 15-minute catch up I thought I was coming for when we very first met turned into nearly 4 hours. So
Jeez.
I'm extremely grateful for that, and for to continue this partnership down the track.
No, it's good. It's great to be involved. Good luck with the road ahead.
Yeah. Cool.
Cool.
Awesome. Cheers, guys.
Cheers, man.
Cheers.